Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Uchiha. Destroy Konoha at the start, Night of Genocide Fallout. Chapter 61. It has been more than 10 days before the two return without slashing. At this time, the Battle of the Rainbow Kingdom was completely over 3 days ago. Kisame led Wurin to break through the capital of the Rainbow Kingdom, and the Rainbow after the slaying of daimyo in the country, he returned to Wunan village with the captive ninja. As for the land of the Rainbow Kingdom, it was temporarily handed over to the ordinary army of the Water Kingdom to take over. For all this, Chenhui did not pay too much attention to it. During this time, Chenhui kept learning the secret technique of ice escape, and occasionally instructed by who learned together. This kind of peaceful life, although comfortable, also made Chenhui a little irritable. However, just today, the arrival of two pieces of news immediately refreshed Chenhui. In the Mizukage office, Chenhui was listening to Terumi Mei's report. The first thing, yesterday, it was sent out. Wu Shinobu finally traced the location of the Six Tails Jinchuriki bubble. The bubble at this time is in the country of Taki. After observation, he has been alone. Well, hearing this news, Chenhui's eyes suddenly brightened. At this stage, if there is anything that can improve his strength, there is only the origin of the tail beast. And after fusing the origins of the 9 tail beasts, she will be able to obtain 6 Daos. The level of 10 tails chakra. Before that, the fusion of the tail beast chakra was also great for him. But except for a few jinchuriki, the other jinchuriki were all seen strictly by their village really. Before Chenhui has the strength to face the entire ninja realm alone, the tail beasts can't be robbed openly. So this shows how easy it is. The captured jinchuriki is precious. Terumi Mei asked, do we need to get in touch with him and then persuade him to return to Wunan village? Chenhui shook his head and said, impossible, you don't know why Six Tails Jinchuriki defected. His master wanted to get him out of Jinchuriki's identity, so he risked taking out Six Tails from him. But at that time Six Tails chakra went violently and directly killed his master on the spot. Also made Jinchuriki mistakenly believe that his master also hates his identity, and even wants to kill him. This kind of problem cannot be made clear by explanation alone. Indeed, Terumi Mei nodded. At that time, there was a lot of noise about the defect of the bubble, and she also knew a lot of inside stories. Then she continued to ask, then what shall we do? Let him be captured first and then talk about it. Yes, you can only catch him back first. Chenhui nodded. Hearing this, Terumi Mei immediately calculated it. The bubble was already able to control the tail beast chakra when he defected, so it is very likely that he has control of 6 tails now. Therefore at least, you have to send 300 elite Wunan, and you have to add a person who can show the strength of the shadow level to lead him. It is possible to bring him back. Let me go or let Kisame go. Don't be so troublesome. Seeing this, Chenhui waved his hand. I'm going to do this myself. What? Terumi Mei was shocked when she heard this. Then she quickly said, no, you are Mizukage, how can you leave the village with you? And Chenhui interrupted Terumi Mei's words with a wave, and said, I have decided. And now Wunan village doesn't need me to sit in battle at all. I stay in the village and I am idle every day. It's better to go out for a walk. That's because you left everything to me. Terumi Mei said bitterly. Chenhui's hand-handling shopkeeper was very thorough, and he had never dealt with the chores in Wunan village, and they were all handed over to Terumi Mei. Therefore, Terumi Mei is extremely resentful of Chenhui's irresponsible remarks. What is idle every day is obviously Tenten is lazy. Say the next thing. Seeing Terumi Mei's bitter expression on his face, Chenhui couldn't help but touched his nose with a slight embarrassment. He also knew that he was doing something unnatural with his hand-handling shopkeeper. After all, he didn't do anything, and he said that he was very idle, which is too much. Terumi Mei sighed, and she couldn't help Chenhui. The second thing involves the Kingdom of Thunder. According to the secret agent, Cloud Shinobi Village has been moving frequently recently, and it has continuously sent large numbers of ninjas to the border of Thunder Country. The two small countries between the Fire Country and the Thunder Country did nothing about this, and they may have been bought by the Thunder Country. It looks like it won't be long before Cloud Shinobi will declare war on Konoha. Finally something has happened. Regarding this news, Chenhui was not surprised. After he defected to Konoha with his tribe and completely destroyed Konoha's nearly 60 years of accumulation, he guessed that other shinobi villages would not let this opportunity pass. However, for some time before, Cloud Shinobi Village, just to be on the safe side, I've been searching for information about Konoha. But after waiting for half a year, Cloud Shinobi Village finally started to take action. Then shall we take the opportunity to do something? Terumi Mei asked. She thinks this is a good chance to win the battle. No need. Chenhui shook his head. Seeing the disappointment on Terumi Mei's face, Chenhui explained, the most important thing in Wurin Village now is to keep a low profile. Although I can get some benefits right now, it will also expose the strength of Wurin Village after its weakness. So before Wurin Village is restored, hiding behind the scenes is the best choice. Look at Iwagakure. They sacrificed nearly 10,000 rock shinobi in order to kill Third Raikage in the 3 world wars. At this time, their strength is estimated to be not far from Wurin Village without me. Now they are not inactive. So we might as well wait for the time to fully mature, and then directly solve all countries at once. This is the best and the easiest choice. Understood. Terumi Mei nodded. In the country of Tangji, Chenhui stepped into a tavern, and today is the 3rd day he left the country of water. To be honest, this is Chenhui's first time visiting the ninja world, so he is not in a hurry to find bubbles. Anyway, Yu Wuren was watching in secret, and he just wandered over slowly. 2 pots of wine, 2 side dishes. Chenhui ordered a bit of food, and then sat at the table by the window, looking at the scenery of Unokuni outside the window. I heard that the hot springs in Unokuni are very good, I will try it later. Soon, Chenhui decided where to go next. If Terumi Mei knew, instead of looking for bubbles in the first place, Chenhui was walking around the ninja world. Not only that, he is now ready to go to the hot spring to relax. Terumi Mei, who is working hard, will definitely shed tears. I am looking for Mizukage. No, it is the uncle. In thinking, the store has already given Chenhui the food that Chenhui wants. Come here. While eating, Chenhui continued to look at the scenery on the street outside the window. But suddenly, the appearance of 3 figures made Chenhui abruptly, this is. Looking at the familiar blonde figure, Chenhui suddenly couldn't believe it. A surprise. Then he didn't care about food, threw down a silver ticket, and quickly chased the 3 figures. This is the opportunity God gave him, don't take it for nothing. With 2 teammates led by Wooden Golem, they are rushing to the border of Thunder Country. This time, her task is to lead these 2 men to collect intelligence on the border of the Fire Country to ensure the subsequent offensive of Cloud Shinobi Village. Now that the intelligence has been collected, there will be many dreams in the night. She has to send the intelligence back quickly so that Cloud Shinobi Village can dispatch troops faster. However, when she came to a forest, she suddenly felt a sense of depression. In this feeling down, the second tails in the body immediately contacted her. From Wooden Golem, I felt 2 familiar auras. The 2 breaths are 3 tails and 9 tails, and the 2 breaths have a tendency to merge. They may be caught. Be careful, someone is eyeing me. What 3 tails and 9 tails? A huge cold sweat suddenly slipped from Wooden Golem's forehead. 2. Who the hell is it? Asked incredibly by Wooden Golem, 3 tails jinchuriki and 9 tails jinchuriki were captured silently and there was no movement in the country of fire and water. 2 tails replied, I don't know, but this person is very strong. And he has absorbed 3 tails and 9 tails now. We are definitely not his opponents. Move to the rescue. By Wooden Golem, what's wrong with you? At this time, Cloud Shinobi on the left noticed something wrong with Wooden Golem, and immediately asked. Don't you 2 feel it? Asked by Wooden Golem in shock. The 2 Cloud Shinobi were confused. No, what happened? Only then did Wooden Golem know that she was the only target of that person in the dark, so she was the only one who felt depressed. Thinking of this, Wooden Golem suddenly coughed. Then she said, I suddenly have something to deal with, you 2 should go back first. Remember to transfer the information to Killer B so that he can dispatch troops as soon as possible. One Cloud Shinobi was a little confused when he heard it. They were not commanded by Lord Raikage himself in this battle, but the other Cloud Shinobi was not confused. He quickly noticed something was wrong. Combined with the strange words of Wooden Golem before, he immediately understood that there was an enemy lurking in the dark, and he focused on Wooden Golem. And Wooden Golem might not be able to deal with it, so he asked them to go back to rescue the soldiers. Thinking of this, he quickly said, "Then Wooden Golem, you handle your affairs, we will go back first." After that, he immediately took another person who was still unknown, and quickly galloped away. Seeing the two people quickly move away, and no one came out to stop him, Wooden Golem was relieved immediately. After the two cloud shinobi disappeared, Wooden Golem was completely relieved. She immediately shouted, "Come out, I already feel your breath." As soon as the voice fell, Chenhui's smiling voice immediately sounded, "Two tails by Wooden Golem, you are very smart." With that said, Chenhui's figure instantly appeared 10 meters in front of Wooden Golem. He ignored the two cloud shinobi who left. This was his deliberate arrangement. "What do you have to intercept me halfway?" Wooden Golem watched Chenhui vigilantly, and was ready at any time. Chenhui smiled when he saw this, and said, "I am looking for you. What I am looking for is the second tail in your body. If you cooperate, then I can let you make a living. If I don't cooperate, then I will have no choice but to destroy the flowers." As soon as the voice fell, Wooden Golem launched an offensive without hesitation, showing the choice with practical actions. "Tisk, it's a pity." Chenhui shook his head. "Jung." A metal collision sounded, and Chenhui held the sword and stopped the iron claws of Wooden Golem. "Don't you really think about cooperation? I promise not to hurt you." Chenhui smiled and looked at Wooden Golem in front of him. Less long-winded, Wooden Golem yelled, and then waved the iron claws to be a meal, fierce attack. But her speed was as slow as a snail under Chenhui's eternal Mangekyo. Within a moment, Chenhui kicked her out. At that time, it was Wooden Golem who noticed Chenhui's distinctive eyes. "This is Mangekyo Sharingan." Wooden Golem's pupils suddenly shrank. Then she immediately asked in shock, "Are you Uchiha Itachi or Uchiha Chenhui?" The Konoha incident half a year ago made Itachi and Chenhui, along with their Mangekyo, resounded through the ninja world, so Wooden Golem would issue this question. "Itachi, the guy who eats inside and out, has already been solved by me," Chenhui said lightly. Before Wooden Golem was too shocked, the second tails in her body shouted to her, "By Wooden Golem. Use the perfect body immediately to delay time. You are not his opponent. When Raikage comes over and you do it together, you will have a chance to defeat him." "It is good." Without hesitation from Wooden Golem, he immediately used the perfect body. "Are you going to zoom in directly?" Chenhui shook his head when he saw this. "Unfortunately, I wanted to play with you." But Wooden Golem didn't pay attention to Chenhui's words. She opened her mouth in the second two-tail, and a huge fireball condensed successfully. "Fire style. Just try my new trick based on Shui Wuyu's secret technique." Chenhui quickly completed the seal, and completed 10 seals in a little more than a second. Then he shouted, "Bing Dun is frozen for thousands of miles." Having said that, Chenhui exhaled a terrifying cold air. The fireball from Wooden Golem was extinguished by this cold air before it was launched. But this is not the end. With the blessing of Chenhui's terrifying chakra volume, this cold air it spread quickly to the surroundings, and it spread to hundreds of meters in a moment, and it continues to extend outward. Within a few hundred meters of this radius, everything instantly turned into ice sculptures, and even the two-tailed ones were made by Wooden Golem as no exception. The flames burning on the second two-tail were even extinguished. The entire battlefield suddenly turned into a world of ice and snow. "Tisk. Powerful." Chenhui is very satisfied with the scene before him. Roar. At this moment, a roar suddenly sounded. Then the second two-tailed Wooden Golem increased the output of chakra, and finally after using the two-tailed 30% chakra, it relied on the flames burning on the two tails and the tail beast. The brute force barely broke free of the shackles of Bing Dun. As soon as he broke free, Wooden Golem snarled at Chenhui, "Bet on the name of my second two-tail, Wooden Golem, I will kill you today." "Ah!" Chenhui suddenly sneered when he heard the words. "Only the livestock in your body can give you such courage. It's true that those who don't know are not afraid. Let's let you see the absolute power. For you, Bing Dun is enough. Bing Dun Iceman technique." After speaking, Chenhui slapped his hands, and a huge Iceman tens of meters tall was condensed in front of Wooden Golem. Then, the Iceman picked up his fist and hit the head of the second tail. Seen by Wooden Golem immediately she was about to resist, but the Iceman's speed was beyond her expectations. At the same time, her speed was greatly reduced because of the ice escape, so she could only watch the Iceman's fist hit her head. The transformed Wooden Golem was knocked to the ground with a punch, leaving a huge hole in the ice. Oh! Oh! The painful howling sounded constantly, and it was obvious that this punch made by Wooden Golem was uncomfortable. That's it, he will be here soon at the speed of Raikage. This is not the time to face him. Chinhui controlled the Iceman, and once again stepped on Wooden Golem. Boom, 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 a dull sound, rhythmically resounding on the battlefield. At this time, Chinhui was controlling the Iceman, and he was beating the second-tailed Wooden Golem with his fists and feet. The huge power shook the surrounding land. However, this move was almost humiliating, and it completely caused the second two tails became violent by Wooden Golem. She began to explode chakra desperately, and when the flames on her body became more intense, she also intended to use brute force to break free from the Iceman's hands. And the temperature of the ghost fire on her with the huge supply of chakra, the Iceman finally began to melt after being raised to an extremely high level. In a short while, it melted a quarter of the Iceman's body. But Chinhui only formed a mark, and the Iceman quickly restored to the original state. However, Wooden Golem took advantage of the short pause and broke free of the Iceman's restraint. By Wooden Golem panting and staring at the Iceman who was back to his original form, a trace of despair rose in his heart. In order to get rid of the restraint, she just broke out of the infinite chakra, and now there is only a little more than 30% of the chakra in her body. You know this is the amount of chakra in the second tails. At this time, the heavy voice of the second tails sounded again. By Wooden Golem, there is only one way now. That is to fight all the remaining chakra, gather the tailed beast bomb and launch the final blow. Otherwise you will be consumed alive. Wooden Golem also knows this truth, so she didn't hesitate and immediately began to gather tailed beast bomb. But in her heart, she did smile at Ni-2-0 and said, Matabi, this time it's useless for me. Maybe we are going to say goodbye soon. I'm so sorry. Two-Tail said, what nonsense, I should say, I am sorry that I am right. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't be implicated in it. And when you were a kid, it was because of me that you were squeezed out. It seems that the tail beast is a disaster, it is really true. During the conversation between the two, the tailed beast bomb was condensed. It seems that the tailed beast was forced to a dead end, it will always be just this trick. Looking at the huge tailed beast bomb in front of him, Chinhui couldn't help being a little disappointed. This trick is really nothing new. Chinhui shook his head, but he was not ready to start Suzuo resistance. After all, he said that only Bing Dun is used. Chinhui is still very credible. But ordinary Bing Dun can hardly resist tailed beast bomb, let alone it is not long before Chinhui has just practiced Bing Dun. So, let's add some stuff. Chinhui folded his hands together, and a golden eye shadow suddenly appeared in the corner of his eyes. Then, the endless flow of fairy magic chakra quickly rushed to the Iceman. Although the Iceman's size did not grow as a result, its terrifying power was increased by dozens of times. At this time, the tailed beast bomb, which was bursting out by Wooden Golem, was also condensed. Then Wooden Golem roared and shot the tailed beast bomb quickly at Chinhui. Chinhui was not to be outdone, and controlled the Iceman to raise his fist and condense everything. The energy hit the tailed beast bomb. Boom! The huge explosion resounded through the dozens of squares. The icy scum and the leaked energy quickly shot to the surroundings. Chinhui also had to raise his hand slightly to cover it. After a few minutes, the aftermath subsided. Chinhui's arm. I saw the tall ice, but he still stood on the spot with one foot upright. Looking at the opposite side, the second tail have already been lost at this time. However, there was a miserable figure lying on the ground in the distance. It was made up of Wooden Golem's body. This battle, the victory or defeat is determined. Chinhui waved his hand, letting the Iceman who had completed the task dissipated again. Then he walked towards Wooden Golem step by step, and after a while, he came to Wooden Golem. Chinhui shook his head and said, if you are obedient, I won't have to be so troublesome. Lingering, Wooden Golem spit out blood and asked, what is your purpose? Shinhui said. I want to end this chaotic era and restore peace to the ninja world. But during this period I will encounter many obstacles, strong or weak, so I need the power of the tail beast. After speaking, Shinhui ignored Wooden Golem. Then he quickly started to operate, and with the experience of going to this Yukang, Shinhui sealed the second and second tails in the prepared container within a short time. At this time, Wooden Golem is dying, obviously not going to live long. Shinhui murmured said. Presumably Raikage and others have received the news, come here, and the next thing is 8 tails. The reason why Shinhui let go of the 2 Cloud Shinobi just now is to attract 4th Raikage and others. With that, Shinhui raised his foot and was about to leave. But suddenly, Shinhui noticed the surrounding environment, and he frowned. Patronizing has fun, but there is such a big deal left. At this moment, the surrounding ice-covered scene for a few miles, others will think of Kurigakure. After all, Kurigakure's ice escape is famous. Shinhui doesn't want to cause trouble to one in village at this time, otherwise his vacation will be a bath. Now, let's clean it up. Shinhui temporarily put away the corpse of Wooden Golem, and then said, Sage Art Fire style is extinguished. Master Raikage, it's 10 kilometers ahead. A group of hundreds of people quickly rushed towards the battlefield between Wooden Golem and Shinhui. These people are 4th Raikage, his left and right hands, plus some of the elite of Cloud Shinobi Village. Cloud Shinobi Village has already negotiated with the Moon Country, so at this time the large forces of Cloud Shinobi Village are at the border of the Moon Country. Therefore, in just 2 hours, a crowd of people running at full capacity rushed here. At this time, 4th Raikage, who was worried about the Wooden Golem accident, shouted, Darui, hey, I'll go 1 step ahead, and you will bring them here as soon as possible. As he said, 4th Raikage suddenly appeared blue lightning-style chakra all over his body, and then rushed to the battlefield like lightning. Shishi, let's speed up. Darui snorted, and then the speed of the group increased again. 4th Raikage quickly approached the battlefield under the blessing of lightning-style chakra mode. But soon, when he was only 5 kilometers away from the battlefield, the scene in front shocked him instantly. I saw that 5 kilometers ahead, within a kilometer radius, had already turned into a piece of scorched earth. By Wooden Golem, you don't have an accident. Seeing this, 4th Raikage suddenly felt anxious, and desperately increased his speed again. Wooden Golem is the second and second jinchuriki of Cloud Shinobi Village. If something goes wrong, it means that Cloud Shinobi Village will completely lose a strategic level unit. Dozens of seconds later, 4th Raikage still came to the scene of the battle. But what is left for him is the cold body of Wooden Golem. How could this happen? 4th Raikage suddenly roared. As this 4th Raikage, then I will go to the Cloud Shinobi team for a while. Seeing this, Shinhui in the dark immediately used Shen-Ellen to leave. And here, Darui and others arrived here more than 10 minutes later. But what they saw was the angry 4th Raikage and the lifeless corpse of Wooden Golem. Master Raikage, from Wooden Golem she. Darui murmured sadly in shock. I will avenge Wooden Golem. 4th Raikage said bitterly. Look at the surrounding battle environment, at least. Thousands of people besieged Wooden Golem, and this environment will be created in 2 hours. And the only thing that can mobilize thousands of troops here without being discovered by us is Konoha. So now take Wooden Golem's body with me back, and tomorrow I will attack Konoha. Retake the second and second tails for revenge by Wooden Golem. Shinhui didn't know that his strategy of adjusting the tiger away from the mountain could kill 2 birds with 1 stone. But even if he knew it, he wouldn't care. After all, Konoha would only be happier because of this suffering. Shinhui walked to the hotel with a depressed look. Just now, he went to the camp of the Cloud Shinobi Village troops. But he did not find Killer B there. It stands to reason that this kind of war between the 2 big shinobi villages, Cloud Shinobi Village cannot let Killer B, the peak combat power that can control 8 tails. Is 4th Raikage so confident that he thinks there is no need to even fight Konoha even 8 tails? Shinhui secretly slandered. 4th Raikage's operation completely disrupted his plan. Originally, he had already planned it. He would capture the second and second tails first, and leave the 2 Cloud Shinobi alone. Rescue soldiers. Then 4th Raikage will definitely send a large force to rescue. If 4th Raikage personally leads the team, then he will go to the Cloud Shinobi Village station and use Mangekyo to instantly capture 8 tails. And if Killer B leads the team, then he will directly destroy the reinforcements. Take down 8 tails. Unfortunately, the plan is perfect, the reality is very skinny, 8 tails didn't even move. It was not until Chenhui used the illusion technique hypnosis to get a small high-level executive, and then understood the reason for the matter. Originally Killer B was to follow the big army, but just before the departure, this must have a concert. In the end, 4th Raikage was angered, and Killer B was directly banned. And in order to prevent Killer B from escaping, 4th Raikage also imprisoned him in an extremely hidden place in Thunder Country it is hard for outsiders to find. No way, Chenhui can only admit that he is unlucky. But soon, Chenhui threw this depression behind his head. Originally, he was just for relaxation this time. The second and second tails were just a surprise, and he was not greedy to catch all the tail beasts now. It's just right. After a big battle, I should go to a hot spring to relax. Chenhui played a small song and leisurely walked into the most famous hot spring shop in Unokuni. Different from Chenhui's leisure time, after 4th Raikage returned to the station, he immediately began to mobilize the army. This time, to deal with Konoha, 4th Raikage directly brought 5,000 elites. Almost half the Battle of Cloud Shinobi Village Lee. In this way, a group of people stepped into the country of Yuji mightily, and marched towards the Konoha border without even saying hello. And at this time, Unokuni was up and down, but they didn't dare to let it go. I completely regarded it as not seeing it. Otherwise, if Cloud Shinobi accidentally angered Cloud Shinobi, and then Cloud Shinobi turned around and attacked Unokuni, they would not cry go. And they are still there. I pray that Cloud Shinobi will be stronger, and Konoha will be weaker, so that the front will not be drawn to the territory of Unokuni. In the face of this kind of war, the weak country really has no right to speak. And Konoha, when he mobilized troops at Cloud Shinobi Village and assembled on the border as early as possible, he guessed that Cloud Shinobi Village would launch an offensive. Sarutobi Hiruzen and other high-level officials went through fierce after discussion. It was finally decided that the Pig Deer Butterfly led the team and led 3,000 troops to intercept. But when they never expected, Cloud Shinobi Village didn't follow the rules at all. Even if Cloud Shinobi Village were to play, it would first explore the defense line of the Konoha border and then make a series of plans. But now 4th Raikage launched an offensive unscrupulously, and it took a moment to dominate the Konoha border. At this time, the troops led by the Pig Deer Butterfly were still half a day away from the defense line. When they arrived, the border defense line already. They had no choice but to retreat the line of defense 3 kilometers back. But the madness of Cloud Shinobi Village is far from over. Since Konoha's large army arrived, several 4th Raikage will lead the team to attack. That group. Cloud Shinobi is like eating out, almost all of them are fatal the style of play. In addition, the human Tyrannosaurus 4th Raikage is leading the battle. In this way, Konoha began to retreat steadily. After investigating for 3 days, the pig, deer, butterfly and trio 3 realized the reason. The second and second tail jinchuriki of Cloud Shinobi Village was killed, and the second and second tail disappeared. And all of this, 4th Raikage actually attributed it to Konoha. The pig, the deer, the butterfly and the 3 were crying without tears, they just arrived. Okay, how could they go to ambush the second and the second? But 4th Raikage dismissed their explanation. The pace of the invasion was not sluggish at all. After all, if the explanation is useful, then what is the use of force? Not to mention, it doesn't matter who caught the second tail of the second game. Konoha retreats, and Cloud Shinobi wins. Naturally, 4th Raikage was not prepared, and it was impossible to miss this perfect opportunity. This situation quickly spread throughout the ninja world. Sunagakur and Iwagakure saw it, and suddenly they couldn't sit still. Now Konoha, it is simply incomparable with the 3 world wars period. In the 3 wars, Konoha fought against the attacks of the 4 hidden villages at the same time, and could win the final victory. But now, a Cloud Shinobi village can make Konoha no fight back. It's an opportunity, a great opportunity to share Konoha's rich resources. So the 2 Shinobu villages began to secretly hoard their troops toward the border while watching the battle. As long as Konoha really loses, they will immediately send troops to divide the big cake of the country of fire. These situations are naturally seen by Sarutobi Hiruzen and others. But what can they do to detonate? After the incident, Konoha not only lost Uchiha's combat power, but also nearly 2,000 ninjas were killed in the hands of Uchiha Chinhui and in the big explosion. Now the pig, deer and butterfly have been defeated in 3/4, they can only send more 2,000 troops. As for Sunagakur and Iwagakure, each side has to send 1,000 troops to prevent accidents. In this way, Konoha's troops are only about 1,000. Even if you add Danzo's routes, it is no more than 2,000. Once Sunagakur and Iwagakure really send their troops, or Konoha in the Cloud Shinobi village battlefield is defeated, then Konoha will have no more troops to send. Not to mention, there is a Kurigakure that has not responded so far. It can be said, this time Konoha really came to life and death. Have you contacted Tsunade and Jiraiya? As a last resort, Sarutobi Hiruzen can only choose to recall his 2 lovers. After all, Konoha now has only 2 shadow classes, Sarutobi Hiruzen and Danzo. In terms of high-level combat power, there can be no other people. Jiraiya-sama has already started to go to the Cloud Shinobi village battlefield, but Tsunade-sama still can't find a trace. Hearing that, before Sarutobi Hiruzen spoke, Danzo snorted and slammed the crutch in his hand to the ground. This Tsunade is really lawless. It's time for Konoha to survive, and she won't come back. Does she want to be a betrayal? Danzo, be careful. Sarutobi Hiruzen gritted his teeth and glared at Danzo. Can you talk nonsense about this? Tsunade was not only awarded as a princess by the name of the country of fire, but also the granddaughter of first Hokage. If Danzo's words were spread, the whole Konoha could drown him with one mouthful of foam. Danzo also knew he was wrong. After speaking, he immediately lowered his head and stopped speaking. And the patriarchs of other major families, at this time, it seems that they have not heard anything just now. Seeing this, Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't help sighing. He didn't know why Tsunade couldn't get in touch. Others thought Tsunade was tired of fighting, and all went out of the village. But Sarutobi Hiruzen understood that Tsunade was completely dead on Konoha and Sarutobi Hiruzen. Because Tsunade had already noticed it. The senior Konoha was dealing with the Senju clan. And she also knew that all of this was acquiesced by her most respected teacher. So frustrated, Tsunade left Konoha, and there was no news ever since. Even Sarutobi Hiruzen feels that Jiraiya's departure, Orochimaru's renunciation is also due to this aspect. So Sarutobi Hiruzen can be described as extremely regretful now. Not only this incident, but also the action against Uchiha half a year ago. Originally he wanted to the solution to Uchiha's internal troubles resulted in Chinhui as a monster. In the end, not only did he and Danzo almost die, but they also caught up with 2,000 ninjas, tens of thousands of civilians, and Konoha's foundation for nearly 60 years. This led to this. Now Konoha is in a crisis of destruction. This time, Konoha completely lost his wife and broke down. But fortunately, Jiraiya still shot, Konoha has a glimmer of hope. Sarutobi Hiruzen said. Since Jiraiya has gone to the Cloud Shinobi village battlefield, let's drop our focus to Sunagakur and Iwagakure. Danzo, your roots are always ready to support these 2 borders at any time. And the patriarchs, it's time for Konoha to survive and die. I hope you can send your tribe to the greatest extent. The patriarchs heard the words and nodded immediately. Sure, but what they think in their hearts, it is estimated that only they know it. Half a year ago, they settled down an agreement. Once Uchiha counterattacked Konoha, they would keep a wait-and-see attitude. But now other shinobu villages are attacking, so naturally they can't do this. After all, Uchiha is related to Konoha, and it is Konoha's founding family anyway, and their major families have no hatred with Uchiha. However, they are not prepared to do their best, as long as they ensure Konoha's existence. As for what they will lose, it doesn't matter to them. Chinhui originally wanted to play for a few days and left Unokuni. He really has no interest in the battle between Konoha and Cloud Shinobi village. But when Chinhui received the news that Jiraiya had joined the battlefield, he immediately suppressed the idea. With Jiraiya, 4th Raikage will lose its indomitable advantage. The battlefield will surely fall into a stalemate, without a year or 2, and the time will be difficult. The winner is divided. At this time, if Cloud Shinobi village wants to quickly end the battle, there is only one choice: let Killer B participate in the battle. And this is Chinhui's opportunity. So Chinhui began to wait patiently and observe the situation on the battlefield. As expected by Chinhui, Cloud Shinobi Village's offensive was frustrated for a while. After Jiraiya turned on Sage mode, although he was not proficient, he still steadily surpassed 4th Raikage at this time. The only flaw is, Jiraiya requires 10 minutes of preparation time. But 10 minutes is not enough, the victory or defeat of a large battlefield. So gradually, both sides stopped large-scale combat and turned to tentative attacks by small teams. This is a good thing for Konoha, but it is a crisis for Cloud Shinobi Village. Because they have now entered the country of fire, and the previous preparations were not sufficient, so the supply has become a big problem. Originally raised by war after the war, this was not a big problem, but now they are stuck, and their supplies can't keep up. Coupled with the fact that Jiraiya sent people to destroy their supply lines, it is estimated that within a few months, they will have to withdraw from the Land of Fire. But how willing 4th Raikage is, it will be difficult for them to give up the land. Therefore, he is recommended by a group of trusted friends. I decided to let Killer B at it. This fits Chinhui's heart. Today's mood is really good. I can write a great rhyme. A strangely dressed young man was humming crappy, jumping around, twisting and twisting through the jungle. This person is the 8-Tails Jinchuriki Killer B who rushed to the battlefield after receiving the news. Asshole bye, stop. Hum your nasty rap. At this moment, 8-Tails inside Killer B couldn't help roaring. Killer B's face was embarrassed. Embarrassed, a drop of cold sweat couldn't help falling from his forehead. However, when he was about to refute 8-Tails, his complexion suddenly condensed. In front of him, there was a breathless figure unknowingly. Xiaoba, when did this guy appear? Killer B couldn't help but asked 8-Tails inside. 8-Tails solemnly said, I don't know, but you have to be careful. I feel that this guy is very powerful, and he can restrain his aura to such a degree, it's definitely not easy to deal with. Chinhui's breath was restrained at this time and did not deliberately let it go, so 8-Tails did not notice the breath of the other tail beasts. You are 8-Tails Jinchuriki. Chinhui looked at Killer B with a hint of joy. This is not to say that he has any thoughts about Killer B, he is delighted that he can gain the energy of another tail beast. Very well, then be my prey obediently. Although Killer B has a solemn heart, she is still careless on her face. He rapped and sneered. You fool talk nonsense, this uncle is Killer B. Bagayalu, Musia Road. Chinhui shook his head when he saw this, and said coldly, your mouth is really annoying. With that said, he opened the Eternal Mangekyo in an instant. In order to avoid long nights and dreams, Chinhui is not going to play with Killer B this time. Baga. Killer B triumphantly wanted to curse a few words, but when he looked at Chinhui, he was immediately attracted by the Mangekyo in Chinhui's eyes. Then, he instantly fell into illusion. Mangekyo Sharingan. 8-Tails is also keeping an eye on the situation outside. When it saw the pattern in Chinhui's eyes, it was instantly shocked. Then it hurriedly shot, ready to wake up Killer B. Hey, Killer B will wake up. But before it said a few words, it felt a huge pupil power invaded its mind. Then, its consciousness instantly fell into chaos. Chinhui slowly walked to Killer B, who was standing on the spot before. Then he pressed his hand against Killer B's belly and began to extract the origin of 8-Tails. Now Chinhui has merged the origins of the 3-tail beasts, so after absorbing the origins of other tail beasts, it can be directly extracted. For a moment later, when Chinhui reached the target, he stopped. Then, Chinhui began to violently erase Killer B and 8-Tails' memories about him. This time he was not going to take 8-Tails away. After all, Killer B was going to attack Konoha this time. Chinhui didn't want to just help Konoha like this solve this trouble. He want to see how Konoha is prepared to deal with this situation. Killer B opened his eyes in a muddled manner, as he was leaning against one another at this time. On a big tree. Why this sleep gets more sleepy. He rubbed his eyes, and under his influence, just now because he was too sleepy, he leaned here and slept. Then he looked up to see the sky. It was near dusk. He was shocked and said anxiously, this is terrible, I have to go to Big Brother to support. Wait for me, Big Brother will teach me again. Xiaoba, you too, why don't you call me? 8-Tails said impatiently, asshole ratio, I'm also sleepy, I'm still in charge of you. Shinhui also erased Eight Tails' memory and tampered with a part of it, making Eight Tails think that its origin is the present. However, if the source is extracted, Eight Tails will naturally be decadent for a while. In this way, Konoha has to thank Shinhui well. I won't tell you, I have to hurry. Killer B shook his head to wake up a bit, and then quickly rushed to the battlefield. After Killer B entered the battle, Cloud Shinobi Village became very powerful. Although Jiraiya is strong in Sage mode, it can't deal with Killer B and 4th Raikage at the same time. This is not to say that he is insufficient, but when Cloud Shinobi Village is attacking, Killer B and 4th Raikage chose to be distributed on both sides of the battlefield. And Jiraiya has only one person, how can he deal with even if he uses Shadow Clone? But Shadow Clone can't use Sage mode, how can he deal with the perfect jinchuriki Killer B? After all, he uses Sage mode. You also need the help of 2 Toad Sages, Shenza and Shima. The other masters of Konoha were intercepted by the masters of Cloud Shinobi. Suddenly, Eight Tails became a meat grinder on the battlefield. In this way, the situation on the battlefield was reversed again. Under the violent attack of Eight Tails, Konoha lost hundreds of people in just one war. If this continues, it will not take long for Konoha will completely lose the initiative that Jiraiya has won. However, at this moment, Sarutobi Hiruzen came up with a way to deal with it. That is to send Naruto, the Nine Tails Jinchuriki. After all, half a year ago, he saw with his own eyes that Naruto can already control Nine Tails power. Then he went to Naruto without any explanation. Naruto was frightened at this, he was only 8 years old. Even though he can control Nine Tails is also very cooperative. How much his strength can reach Sarutobi Hiruzen, this is completely without his life in his heart. But the situation is stronger than that of humans, and Naruto is not able to fight Konoha at this time, so he can only respond. However, Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't put all his hopes on Naruto, he also sent Danzo. And along the way, Danzo secretly performed illusions on Naruto more than once, and wanted to use Sharingan to control him. But no, with Mangekyo, how can Nine Tails be coveted by him? So in the end Danzo had no choice but to return. But this incident also made Naruto even more intent on killing Konoha in his heart. With the addition of the two of them, Cloud the Shinobi Village battlefield immediately regained its balance and stalemate again. Sunagakur and Iwagakure are still watching. During the 3 wars, they suffered too much damage, and they were not ready to face Konoha, even if Konoha was already at the end of the battle. However, this is something for the future, and Shinhui did not continue to pay attention. At this time he has already embarked on the journey again. Along the way, Shinhui passed through the country of Tien and the country of Iron successively. However, at this time Orochimaru has not yet established Otonin village here, Satanokuni has no place worthy of Shinhui's stay. As for the Iron country, this is the last pure land of the samurai, and it is also the strongest place in the ninja world. The sword in Shinhui's hand was made by Uchiha a long time ago with the most cherished materials, and it finally fell. Shinhui's hands. Shinhui didn't have much interest here either, and after playing for a few days, he quickly left. In the end, Shinhui came to Taki no Kuni. This is also where the 6 Tails Jinchuriki bubble is located. So, Shinhui met here, the leader of the Anbu team who was monitoring the bubble. This person's name Sword is also the captain of the Anbu pursuit team. The elite Jonin is capable. The Sword said. Report to Master Mizukage that after we chased the bubble, he did not continue to flee. At this time, he is living in a small wooden house he built 5 miles away. That's good. Shinhui nodded. Does he have any unusual reactions? Kendo. No, we didn't do it, so he ignored us. Shinhui nodded and said, then take me over. How do you say 6 Tails is all from the village? It's not good to stay out all the time. Yes. The Sword nodded in response, and then immediately led Shinhui to the bubble. The dividing line. Next to the waterfall, a young man with brown hair dressed in blue haori was quietly enjoying the beauty of the waterfall. This person is a bubble. You seem to know I'm coming over. A voice suddenly sounded, and then Shinhui walked to a place 5 meters behind the bubble. The bubble replied, the group of Anbu chased me before, and they would do it to me if they couldn't help but say it. This time it was different. Not only did the chasers change, but they didn't force their hands after seeing me. This is not Yakura's style. So I guess that something must have changed in One Village. And there must be a big man to see me. You are very smart, you guessed right. Chinhui complimented. Foam smiled, then slowly turned around. Only then did he realize that the man in front of him was a 14 or 5-year-old boy he had never seen before. He couldn't help but said in amazement, I grew up in Wurin Village, but I never saw you. Chinhui smiled and said, well, I am the 5th Mizukage. My name, Uchiha Chinhui. Uchiha, Chinhui. When the foam heard the words, his pupils shrank. He has been in the ninja world for many years, how could he have never heard of this name? This is the single-handedly destroying Konoha, and the culprit of Konoha's hard fight now. The bubble soon suppressed the feeling of surprise, and then sank. The voice asked, after Uchiha disappeared, you went to the water country and took control of One Village. Not a control. Chinhui shook his head. The previous generation of Mizukage was controlled by my Uchiha trader with Sharingan, so I originally went to work with Terumi Mei. But when I crushed Yakura and his 3000 mists, Terumi Mei and Genshi strongly requested that I be a Mizukage. How do I feel compelled to cooperate? The bubble chuckled. But it doesn't matter, anyway. I don't have any nostalgia for One Village, just do whatever you want. You can't say that, Chinhui smiled. Now I am Mizukage in One Village, and Six Tails is the property of One Village. So I can't let you just wander in the world of shinobi. When the bubble heard the words, he suddenly snorted and said, huh, what do you want? Anyway, I won't go back with you. As he said, he assumed a pose that he could attack at any time. Chinhui saw this, but didn't respond. He said to himself, originally, I just had to bring Six Tails back. I wouldn't care if you were worthy of cooperation. But before coming over, Terumi Mei pleaded with me, even if I can't persuade you, I hope I can save your life. So I think I'll take you back alive. When the bubble heard the words, he immediately shouted angrily, arrogant, do you think I can let you kill? Seeing this, Chinhui sighed and said, looking at you like this, I will definitely not be able to persuade you. It seems that you have to lose the ability to resist first, and then bring it back to One Village to talk about it. The bubble jumped back quickly after hearing the words to avoid being attacked by Chinhui. Although he had not seen Chinhui take action, Chinhui was already so fierce, he naturally didn't dare to care about it. Not to mention that Wurin Village would let Chinhui be a new generation from an outsider. Mizukage, they certainly won't be. They are impressed by Chinhui's temperament, who has only seen it once. It must be Chinhui's unfathomable strength that can make Wurin Village all bow their heads. The bubble quickly picked up the waste and blew the bubble. Equipment, he decided to start first. Then dozens of bubbles floated towards Chinhui. Water-style foam technique. These bubbles are not for viewing, but they will explode. Chinhui would not be careless about this, he quickly sealed. Fire-style great fireball technique. Then the fireball with a diameter of tens of meters quickly attacked these bubbles. When the two collided, the great fireball instantly detonated all the bubbles. The huge explosion directly the waterfall on the side exploded a big hole, and it gradually disappeared after a while. Then countless water droplets fell, and a light rain suddenly formed. Then, I will let you lose the ability to fight first. At this time, the foam had jumped to the other side of the waterfall, and Chinhui stared at each other through the curtain of water. The bubble said, give up, I won't go back with you. I don't want to use the power of it, to deal with you. Chinhui chuckled and shook his head. I said, this is not up to your wishes. Also, the thing in your body is nothing but poultry in my eyes. If you want to rely on its power, hurry up, lest I lose my interest later, you don't even have a chance to shoot. Cut. Foam curled his lips, but still began to mobilize the power of Six Tails in his body. He is not an arrogant person. Chinhui has the ability to suppress a ninja village, he will naturally not be careless. But if you want him to be soft, it is still far not enough. Not to mention, he really doesn't want to go back to One Village, the place that broke his heart. The bubble said in a deep voice, since you are from Uchiha, then you must not be proficient in water style. And this place is the most suitable place to display water style, it is natural to restrain your most proficient fire style. Even if you are strong, there will be many restrictions here. Chinhui chuckled softly and said, hey, you have a combat mind. But your theory is only for ordinary people. For my level, there are no restrictions at all. Then try it. The foam snorted coldly, and immediately stopped talking nonsense. Then he quickly began to seal. Water-style water dragon bomb. I saw that the waterfall between the two began to change in an instant, and in a short while, a huge water dragon of 20 to 30 meters high was formed. And he usually uses the water dragon bomb, the largest is only a few meters. In this environment, the bubble really got a lot of help. Chenhui could not help but a little amused. I really want to use water style to sanction me. Then I will let you know today that there is no attribute suppression in front of absolute strength. With that said, Chenhui jumped backward and started to seal the seal quickly. When he jumped to a height of tens of meters from the waterfall, the seal in his hand was also finished at the same time. Fire style is extinguished. Then, a monstrous sea of fire covering a radius of hundreds of meters suddenly attacked the foam next to the waterfall. Although it is daytime at the moment, the sky on this side has also been rendered red by this sea of fire. It turned out to be a class of fire. Quote, when the foam saw this, his pupils shrank, and then he fled into the distance in a panic. In the next instant, when the sea of fire spread to the waterfall, the foamy water dragon bomb was instantly evaporated by the high temperature before it attacked. Then the sea of fire slammed into it. At the waterfall, suddenly, countless white mist erupted from the intersection. In the white mist where no one can see, the entire waterfall situation has been destroyed by this blow. There is no limitation of the original waterfall pattern. The torrent of water on the cliff above suddenly began to spread around. With a single blow, the terrain has been changed. In the distance, the foam in the coat of the tailed beast chakra looked at Chenhui approaching him in surprise. I didn't expect Uchiha to have such a powerful ninjutsu. Chenhui shook his head and said, that's all. But in my hands, it has the power of ninjutsu. Understand? That's it. The bubble immediately laughed at himself. It seems that I thought I had a subtle plan, but it is really useless in front of you. Chenhui shrugged, the game is almost over, come back with me. As he said, the next moment the bubble felt that he was caught in the air by an inexplicable force. He fixed his eyes and saw that Chenhui's whole body, I don't know when a huge golden skeleton appeared. It was captured by its extended skeleton arm. The bubble suddenly struggled frantically. Give it up. Chenhui said lightly. Go back with me now, you won't be affected, just as it was a farce. If you are still stubborn, you will be beaten severely before you go back. When the bubble heard the words, he suddenly roared and said, it's not over yet, don't underestimate me. Haruma. Then, he quickly secreted a strongly corrosive liquid all over his body. Susanoo's hand bones in the first stage were quickly corroded and melted. Then the foam immediately got rid of Susanoo's grip. In the first moment, the bubble immediately summoned the complete body of Six Tails. Seeing this, Chenhui suddenly chuckled, hey, this ability is good. It's a pity that you chose the second path, so let's play with you again. With that said, Susanoo immediately changed and quickly put on a thick layer of armor. At the same time, Susanoo's body size also quickly increased, and in a moment he became a giant with a height of 100 meters. Full body. In front of Susanoo, the body of Six Tails suddenly looked a little small. His pupils shrank at the sight of the bubble. He had never seen an existence that was a little bigger than a tail beast. Chenhui did not pull out, waste the long sword in the middle of the world, walked towards the foam of Six Tails with bare hands. As he walked, Chenhui said, don't worry, I will beat you up first, wait until you lose the ability to act, and then take you back. Seeing this, foam no longer froze, he immediately began to use Six Tails' natal ability. I saw him quickly spit out several mists at Susanoo. And when these mists spread to Susanoo, the surrounding forests of hundreds of meters were corroded by it. But all of this is of no use to the complete Susanoo. See the foam, unwilling to spit out a puff of liquid at Shuzuo again. Knowing the wolf is rotten. But Susanoo only waved his hand to disperse the incoming liquid. And Susanoo's arm, there was still no trace of damage. But the foam still didn't give up, and began to quickly condense tailed beast bomb on the top of his head. But at this time Susanoo has already come in front of him. With just one punch, the tailed beast bomb that had not yet been condensed was completely blown away. Then Susanoo punched again, and the bubble was knocked to the ground. But this is just the beginning. Boom, boom, boom. There was a dull voice, but Susanoo was violently beating Six Tails' foam. And every time I was hit, the bubble could feel that chakra in his body was suddenly lost by a large amount. He wanted to resist, but he didn't have the slightest chance. In the distance, one big, one small and two Dao figure is wandering in the town. But suddenly, it was small. The figure pointed at the forest in the distance and exclaimed, "Tsunade-sama, look over there." These two people are Tsunade and Shizune. Tsunade suddenly turned her head when she heard the words, but when she saw the two huge figures in the distance, her pupils suddenly shrank. This is Six Tails and Susanoo. Tsunade couldn't help but exclaimed. Shizune couldn't help but ask, "Tsunade-sama, I know Six Tails, but what is Susanoo?" Tsunade solemnly said, "Susanoo is Uchiha's ultimate power. Uchiha Madara, the ancestor of Uchiha, even if he used this technique to compete with my grandpa. This technique is cultivated to the extreme, and it can have the power to easily destroy a country." Destroy a country. Shizune suddenly looked at the golden Susanoo in the distance. Looking at the figure a bit bigger than the tail beast, Shizune swallowed and vomited. "Go, let's go over and take a look." Tsunade waved a big hand, and then pulled Shizune reluctantly toward it quickly. Tsunade quickly approached the battlefield with Shizune. They originally thought that there was going to be a terrifying battle here, but the horror in front of them made them couldn't bear to look straight. They saw Six Tails in front of Susanoo, just like a weak little girl, facing the sturdy man. There is simply no way to fight back. The strong corrosive gas spreading hundreds of meters in a radius, useless. It corrodes the earth with a strong acid that is nearly 100 meters in diameter and tens of meters deep. It's useless. The tailed beast bomb, which was about to condense the strongest attack, was blown away by a punch. Then, it was the scene of Susanoo's Six Tails. The dull crash made Tsunade and Shizune's hearts tremble. Gudong. Shizune swallowed and spit, and asked with a trembling voice, "As the tail beast, so weak?" Tsunade is also pretending to be calm at this time. She has seen the power of the tail beast more than once. But this scene really ruined her three views. Hearing Shizune's question, Tsunade answered quietly, "It's not that the tail beast is too weak, but the Susanoo used by this person is too strong. Can play with the tail beast like a toy. This person's strength is not far from my grandpa. Can you compare with first generation?" Shizune shrank his head in fear. She grew up listening to the legend of first Hokage since she was a child. During the conversation between the two, the foam of Six Tails finally couldn't hold it. I saw Six Tails shrinking rapidly, and it took a moment. It changed back to a bubble. But the bubble at this time has fallen into a coma. Seeing this, Chinhui also waved away Susanoo, and when he landed, he walked slowly in front of the bubble. Looking at the bubble that had lost consciousness at his feet, Chinhui was not surprised. He was not only violently beating the foam just now. Every punch he controlled, Susanoo swallowed some of the origin of Six Tails in the foam. So before he knew it, Chinhui had already collected the origin of Six Tails. So he lost a lot of it. The origin of Six Tails will fall into a coma, and even the bubble that becomes the true body of Six Tails will be affected. At this time, Chinhui already has the origin of the five-tailed beasts, and his own chakra has also reached this kind of stimulation. The level of the late Super Shadow. As long as the last four tail beasts are obtained, he will have the first level of power of the sixth level. And it is the power that is completely controlled by him. At this time, the Sword and several other mist ninjas watching the battle, suddenly jumped out. Sword pinched and said with a smile, "As expected of Master Mizukage, even Six Tails can't jump up in your hands." Chinhui nodded, not caring about Jian's compliment. He said, "Now that the foam has lost combat power, when I seal his strength, you will take him back to Onin village. Return to Karinin village, Terumime will take care of it." "Won't Mizukage-sama go back with us?" Jian hurriedly asked. Chinhui said lightly, "I have something to deal with, so I won't go back now. Now the development of Wurin village is complete, it doesn't matter if I am or not. What's more, there is Terumime in the village, she will handle the affairs well." "Yes." Chinhui rarely said to them. Jian naturally didn't dare to ask more. Then Chinhui squatted down, pressing his palm on the foam forehead. After a while, when Chinhui removed his hand, a sealing circle appeared on the foam's forehead. Chinhui said, "With this, neither the bubble itself nor Six Tails chakra can be used." Jian and a few Mizunin nodded immediately. "Thank you, Mizukage-sama." Then they immediately stepped forward to lift up the foam, saluted Chinhui, and then quickly left the place. Seeing their silhouettes gradually disappeared, Chinhui couldn't help but mutter, "Then I will deal with those two mice." With that, his figure disappeared in place instantly. When Tsunade and Shizune arrived, Chinhui found them. After all, the perception of the fairy and the perception of 10 tails are not. Just kidding. Far away Tsunade and Shizune, tens of meters away, looked back after 6 tails and Susanoo dissipated. Shizune whispered, "Master Tsunade, the battle over there is over, let's go now. It will be troublesome if it is discovered." Tsunade naturally knows this truth, she has no confidence in facing Susanoo's power. "Go." Then she said nothing, pulling Shizune away from here. But just after walking a few steps, her movements stopped abruptly. "Master Tsunade, why don't you leave?" Shizune at the back hurriedly probed. But she quickly shrunk her pupils, and she froze in place. "I saw a figure standing a few meters in front of the two, some time ago. And this figure Tsunade and Shizune have both seen it just now inside Susanoo." After a long daze, Shizune suddenly shrank behind Tsunade in fright. Tsunade also recovered. She took a deep breath and suppressed the fear in her heart. Then she forced a smile and said, "I don't know why this adult is blocking our way. If it is a robbery, your lord, you have picked the wrong person. Our mother and daughter don't have much money. The woods just want to pick up some firewood." Tsunade still had a fluke at this time, and wanted to pass the blunder. Even though she knows that the chance of cheating Chinhui is slim, or even no chance, she is still ready to give it a try. After all, she didn't want to face the enemy of Chinhui. The scene just now was too shocking. After all, Chinhui was full of weird faces after hearing what she said. Seeing this, Tsunade's heart sank suddenly, she knew she couldn't hide it. Then Tsunade heard Chinhui chuckle and said, "Oh, when did the famous Tsunade in the ninja world have girls? This is big news. I can't hide my identity, and Tsunade doesn't act anymore." She coughed awkwardly, and said, "It was just a joke." Seeing this, Chinhui laughed and said nothing. He was still thinking about how to find Tsunade before, and Tsunade came to the door by himself. Of course, Chinhui is not greedy for Tsunade's body, he wants to subdue Tsunade. After all, Tsunade is now the #1 medical ninja in the ninja world, but Chinhui is an indispensable talent in Chinhui's great cause. Seeing Chinhui has been silent, Tsunade couldn't help but speak first. "I just saw you hit Kamui, even 6 tails was easily subdued by you. I didn't expect that a strong man like you appeared in the ninja world these years, I am really old." Tsunade knows that Chinhui is from Uchiha, but he is not sure who Chinhui is. After all, as far as she knows, it is only Uchiha Chinhui and Uchiha Itachi who have opened Mangekyo now. Therefore, Tsunade simply pretended to be dumb, pretending not to recognize Susanoo's origins. But Chinhui won't be fooled by her. "Since I have recognized my origin, why bother to pretend to be stupid? Introduce myself, I am Uchiha Chinhui. Uchiha Chinhui." Tsunade hadn't spoken yet, Shizune behind her suddenly exclaimed. Upon seeing this, Tsunade couldn't help but stared at Shizune fiercely. Right now is the time to yell. Then she looked at Chinhui and slowly said, "You know who I am, so I won't introduce more. Let's talk, come find me, what's the matter?" Seeing that Chinhui was not ready to take action, but blocked their way, Tsunade suddenly knew that Chinhui had something to look for her. Chinhui shrugged and did not answer Tsunade's question. He continued to tease and said, "Why, Princess Tsunade is Konoha Sanin. Are you not going to catch me back to Konoha?" Upon hearing this, Tsunade suddenly smiled bitterly, "I have no strength to capture you." Chinhui reluctantly asked, "Then if you have the strength, would you do it?" To be honest, Tsunade was silent for a moment. Shizune, who was behind Tsunade, was not surprised when he saw this. She knew why Tsunade didn't speak. Seeing this, Chinhui looked at Tsunade with profound eyes. "It seems that you have the strength and can't do it. In this way, we are all the same people, the same group that hates Konoha, high-level people." Tsunade was still silent. She seemed to think of something in the past, and a painful expression suddenly appeared on her face. After a long time, Tsunade slowly came over. During this time, Chinhui did not urge him, so he looked at Tsunade indifferently. Tsunade exhaled and asked, "Stop talking about these useless things, just say it, why come to me?" Seeing this, Chinhui also put away his ridiculous expression. He said seriously, "I came to you, hoping that you can destroy Konoha with me, together." When Tsunade heard this, her pupils suddenly shrank. Then she said quickly and firmly, "Impossible." After speaking, Tsunade looked at Chinhui seriously, only to find that he was listening intently. Seeing this, Tsunade took a deep breath. Then she said, "I am the granddaughter of first Hokage. Konoha is the painstaking effort of my grandfather, and it is also my hometown. I can't help you destroy it. Even if your strength is extraordinary, I won't succumb. You will die of this heart." Seeing this, Chinhui was not angry either. He asked faintly, "Then I ask you, what is Konoha in your heart? Or, who is the owner of Konoha?" "It's those big and small families or those common people," Tsunade said without hesitation. "No one is the owner of Konoha. Konoha belongs to all the villagers." "That's very good. I deserve to be first Hokage's granddaughter." Chinhui applauded. Tsunade applauded. But soon Chinhui asked in confusion, "But why does Konoha look more like Sarutobi Hiruzen's private property now? Can you explain to me?" As soon as this remark came out, Tsunade was speechless. Why didn't she know Konoha's status quo? Back then, she saw all this, and finally chose to leave Konoha. Chinhui sighed. "It seems you don't not confused, I am very clear in my heart." After Tsunade was silent for a while, he said, "No matter what you say, I can't help you destroy Konoha. I still said that, it was my grandfather's painstaking effort, and it was also my hometown." Chinhui shook his head and said, "It's a pity, it was also my hometown. But under the rule of Sarutobi Hiruzen, it is now." With that said, Chinhui took out one hand and took out one. When Tsunade saw this, the police looked at Chinhui, thinking that he was so embarrassed that he was ready to do it. But Chinhui did not launch an offensive as Tsunade thought. Chinhui did not hesitate to pick up Kuwu and swipe his left hand. Suddenly the bright red blood force splashing, because Tsunade is not too far away from Chinhui, a few drops fell on her face. Suddenly, Tsunade stood in place as if she had been hit by the hold technique. After a while, she shivered again, as if she had seen something extremely terrifying. Shizune in the back saw this, and immediately started to attack Chinhui. But the pressure came over, she was suddenly scared and unable to move. Chinhui walked slowly towards Tsunade, and at the same time stretched his left hand to Tsunade's cheek. But Tsunade didn't seem to notice it, his eyes widened and trembling. Soon, Chinhui's left hand touched Tsunade's cheek. Then Chinhui slid his hands and scratched a blood mark on Tsunade's cheek. Chinhui didn't stop until he reached Tsunade's chin. Then Chinhui lifted Tsunade's chin and asked her to look directly into her eyes. The pupil power began to activate. Chinhui took Tsunade into the world of illusion. "Kill. Kill these Konoha guys." One after another, the sound of killing awakened Tsunade from the chaos. I took her to take a closer look, but found that she had come to an inexplicable battlefield. "Come on, I'll show you something." Chinhui's voice rang in her ears. Then, Chinhui walked past him and walked forward. Seeing this, Tsunade followed uncontrollably. "Look, that person seems to belong to your Senju clan, right?" Chinhui pointed to the front, and Tsunade immediately looked in the direction he was pointing. I saw a familiar figure ahead, resisting the attack of three enemies with 2 teammates. Tsunade knew that person, and that person was second Hokage. When most of the Senju people were hidden from Konoha, the only one was left behind people. There are more than 40 such people, including her and her brother Nawaki. They were left behind to continue to inherit and continue the name of the Senju clan. But during World War II and the Third World War, these people died, and in the end only her was left. I saw the Senju clan in front of me. With the cooperation of the 2 teammates, they used all means and finally defeated 3 enemies. But the next moment, a sharp blade penetrated his heart. He turned his head in disbelief, but found that he was killed. People or his teammates? Why? He used his last vitality to issue this question. That the teammate who killed him said coldly, "On the order of Lord Danzo, kill all the Senju people in this battle." When Tsunade in the distance saw this, his heart suddenly hurt. Then the picture over there suddenly changed, and it was changed to another battlefield. Tsunade still knows the people who participated in the war, and he is still a tribe who inherited the name of Senju. His fate was the same as that of the clan in front. When he was most relaxed, he was pierced with a sword by his trusted teammate. Then the scene changed again. Chinhui combined with the memory in Tsunade's mind, and combined what she had guessed with what she had already guessed. It was confirmed that the moments of the deaths of those tribesmen were played back over and over again. Finally, the figure of her brother Nawaki appeared in the picture. At this time, Tsunade, who had been silent, finally moved. She grabbed Chinhui with tears in her eyes, helping crying. "Please, don't show me this. Please." Chinhui ignored Tsunade's pleading. He reached out and broke Tsunade's head, letting her watch the next scene intuitively. "Look into your heart, Tsunade, this is Konoha's true face." I saw a ninja ran in front of Nawaki and Orochimaru and said, "My lord, I have checked it out, there is no danger ahead." "Okay, we chase it." Orochimaru waved a big hand. Then Nawaki and the ninja quickly ran forward. The next moment, boom! The violent explosion sounded across the sky. Nawaki's figure was instantly swallowed by the aftermath of the explosion. "Do not." Seeing that Nawaki was instantly submerged by the explosion, Tsunade cried out in pain. This is the last scene in her heart, the scene before the death of her brother Nawaki. "Look into your own heart, Tsunade," Chinhui said without emotion. The tribe who was betrayed by their teammates before, now Nawaki, who has won the calculation, and Senju, who is the only one left, who is on the verge of destruction. This is the Konoha you are thinking of. This is the nature of that group, high level. It was as if the words of the magic sound were constantly ringing in Tsunade's ears. At the same time, the scene where the clansmen were unwilling to die, the unrecognizable corpse of his younger brother Nawaki. These, all began to repeat in Tsunade's mind. What you are suffering from is not phobia, but the sorrow that you know the truth, but is unable to avenge. You dare not face all this, dare not face your dead people, you feel sorry for them. So you are afraid of blood because it reminds you of Konoha's debt to Senju. And you are powerless to avenge them. Chinhui's words completely defeated Tsunade's last line of defense. The mask of pretending to be strong was torn, and Tsunade's inner thoughts began to emerge. Resentment, hatred, killing. Countless negative emotions began to condense in Tsunade's heart. This is not Chinhui's illusion or suggestion to Tsunade. Chinhui only brought out Tsunade's depression deep in his heart, that there is nowhere to vent, the more and more emotions he accumulates. This is Tsunade's original idea. Tsunade, who is on the surface, has nowhere to vent, so he can only choose to indulge in alcohol. But now, the dark side of Tsunade's heart, completely awakened. Outside, Tsunade opened his eyes. She was not afraid of the blood on her face, but looked at Chinhui blankly. At this time, Chinhui was still almost teasing, raising Tsunade's chin. Tsunade turned a blind eye to all this. She said coldly, "Let's talk about your plan." Seeing this, Chinhui nodded without surprise. "It is good." In a box in a pub. After Chinhui imposed a sound barrier, he sat opposite Tsunade. As for Shizune, it was arranged by Tsunade to enter a hotel. What they are going to talk about next is not suitable for Shizune to participate. "How are you going to do it?" Tsunade asked straightforwardly as soon as he came up. Chinhui said, "I know that the reason why you love and hate Konoha, and you can't do it, is because of the group of civilians inside. Now you have seen through the nature of the Mux family, but you don't want to draw the flames of war to the group of villagers. At this point, I have no contradiction with you. The fate of the villagers. As long as they don't stand on my opposite side, it's not impossible to let them survive. So, you only plan to take revenge on their families?" Tsunade asked rhetorically. "Revenge?" Chinhui sneered when he heard this. "You too value the Konoha group, they don't deserve to make me try my best to target them. If I really want to kill them, with the strength I just showed, who can stop Konoha?" Chinhui's words are not bragging, now Konoha is the only might guy that he can admire. But at this time, it is still 7 years before the 4th Ninja War where he shines in the original book. Time, So the current might guy, even if he can successfully open the 8 gate, what level can he reach? You know, his father can open the 8 gate, and he will be able to make a 7 people with 7 ninja swords. In the end, he has 3 people 3 escaped. So it's not that you can have the strength comparable to 6 Dao after you open the 8 gate. No matter how strong the ability is, it depends on who is displaying it and the level of cultivation. Then what do you want to do? Sunade frowned and asked. Chinhui smiled slightly and said, the world of ninja is too messy, and Konoha and even the land of fire are just a small part of the world of ninja. I don't like the chaos in my world, so I am going to unify it. You want to destroy the 5 great nations? Sunade stood up in shock. Chinhui shrugged and said, it's not destruction, it's unity. Let everyone obey an order. I have the strength to achieve this, so why not do it? Sunade calmed down a bit, and then sat back in his seat. She said solemnly, I admit that you are extraordinary, but this is an enemy of the entire ninja realm. How about being an enemy of the entire ninja world? Chinhui asked rhetorically. I can now destroy any great country easily and without pressure. Even if they unite, it will take the 3 big powers to work together to be able to compete with me alone. As for the remaining 2 great nations, Chinhui stood up slightly and bent over, leaning her head to Tsunade's ear. Finally he whispered in Tsunade's ear, tell you a secret. I am from one village, the 5th. The 5th, the water, the shadow. Every time Chinhui said a word, Tsunade's pupils were enlarged by a percentage point. At this time, she was already shocked and unable to describe it in words. How long was this? Less than a year. Chinhui quietly won a forbearance. The village is still one of the 5 great forbearance villages. At this time Chinhui sat upright again and returned to his position. He smiled and said, so even at the moment, I already have the ability to subvert the ninja world. But I won't do it now, because this will kill a lot of people. I don't want to wait for the ninja world to be unified, but the total population is not as large as a small country. And even if I don't do anything now, 3 years later, I can destroy the entire ninja world with my own power. So I will wait for 3 years, and then crush it with absolute strength. So at this stage, I don't need much other assistance. Everything I do is to pave the way for the unification of the ninja world. And for you, what I want is after the unification of the shinobi world, you still have the knowledge in your mind that can play a role. Hearing this, Tsunade couldn't help but ask, you are so confident that you will be able to contend the entire ninja world with your own strength in 3 years? Chinhui lazily said, I'm only 14 now, and my strength is greatly restricted by my body. So when I get rid of the limitations of my body, at least my strength will double. As soon as this statement came out, Tsunade immediately believed Chinhui's words. Because she is a medical ninja, she is very aware of the physical limitations of strength. According to Chinhui's current age, even if he does nothing at this time, his strength can be increased several times in 3 years. Why, would you like to join? And me? Chinhui asked with a smile. After a moment of silence, Tsunade nodded heavily. If you really don't vent your anger on Konoha's civilians, then I can join you. Seeing Tsunade nodded, Chinhui's mood was a little cheerful. Tsunade's role is not reflected in her strength, but her medical ability in the ninja world, as well as the knowledge in her mind. With a little training, Tsunade can become a master of biology. Chinhui will lead Uchiha to the universe in the future of. And to achieve this, the Otsutsuki clan is the best research object. At this time, Tsunade's role is reflected. Not only her, but also our avant-garde snake ant. But at this time Tsunade hadn't finished saying, as for the unified ninja. A hint of hesitation appeared on Tsunade's face. But she couldn't help but said, then since you have the strength to suppress the ninja world, why not learn from my grandfather and guide people to trust each other so as to create peace? So you don't have to continue to sacrifice. So you might as well learn Senju Hashirama. Before Tsunade could change her words, Chinhui interrupted her with a sneer. Are you joking? Do you still believe in Senju Hashirama's philosophy? Tsunade asked with a slight dissatisfaction. What's wrong with my grandpa's philosophy? How to say he also ended the split of Sengoku and created peace for the ninja world for more than 10 years. You think this is credit? Chinhui chuckled. How do I feel this as a sin? Looking at Tsunade's dissatisfied expression, Jinhui slowly said, "The strength of Senju Hashirama, even if it is now, is far from me. He has the absolute strength to unify the ninja world. Not to mention there was another Uchiha Madara with this philosophy at the time. If the two of them work together, they can easily destroy the four kingdoms. The Susato Buddha, the two destroy the four kingdoms." Funny laugh, but Senju Hashirama did not agree with Uchiha Madara's philosophy. He believes that the five great nations can live in harmony. And for the so-called average strength, he also captured the 9-tailed beasts and sold them to 4 other 44 countries. Let's not talk about his philosophy, let's just talk about the capture of the tailed beast. Do you think your grandpa did it right? Tsunade frowned slightly, a trace of embarrassment on his face. Yes, you also think he did something wrong. Jinhui shook his head funny. In those days, the tail beasts were basically hiding in deep mountains and forests no one inhabited. Except for some ambitious people, the tail beast will not harm anyone. But Senju Hashirama somehow caught them and sold them as goods to other countries, letting them lose their freedom forever. To be honest, if I am a tailed beast and have the strength, I will not slaughter him if I am treated like this. The whole clan of Senju Hashirama is kind. Although I don't have any respect for those tail beasts, I don't even look at the superficial, the backside Senju Hashirama. His philosophy is that people understand each other, and then peace is born. But his act of catching the tail beast and selling it to the other 4 countries is supporting the law of the supremacy of strength. And why is the ninja world peaceful for more than 10 years? It's not because Senju Hashirama has absolute strength, other shinobu villages dare not do it. So when he dies, the First Ninja World War will begin immediately. Tsunade was silent, and she didn't know how to defend it. Jinhui shook his head when he saw this, and said, "Now let's go back to Essen. You think Senju Hashirama's establishment of the shinobu system is very good?" Of course Tsunade feels great. But when she saw Jinhui's smile, she stopped talking immediately, lest she continue to be slapped. Jinhui continued. The ninja village system ended the civil strife in the Fire Country, and Senju Hashirama also it has countless merits. But in fact, he turned the family battle in the Sengoku period into the current battle of Shinobu. Do you still remember why the first battle in the major ninja villages was called the First Ninja World War? This title, but only after the establishment of Shinobu village. Not waiting, Tsunade replied. Jinhui said to himself, because the deaths caused by the war of just a few years are far more tragic than the nearly 100 years of the Sengoku period. A battle in the ninja world will cause the death of tens of thousands of ninjas. The number of ordinary people implicated by the war has reached nearly 100,000 deaths and disabilities. You know, even if there was a family war during the Sengoku period, I would try my best not to involve ordinary people. Because they are the guarantee of productivity and can determine the wealth of a family. So although their status is not high, but their lives are rarely in danger. Furthermore, during the Sengoku period, there were no real battles between those families, no more than twice a year, and no more than 100 casualties. So looking at the death toll alone, Senju Hashirama has increased it by an order of magnitude. And such wars in the ninja world have occurred 3 times in the short span of more than 50 years since the establishment of Ninja Village. Now, do you still think the shinobu system is great? Tsunade was speechless, but she still said weakly, "Then I can't blame my grandpa for all this." Jinhui shook his head and said, if Senju Hashirama did nothing in that era, he would even use his own strength to devour other families, thereby strengthening the Senju family. I still think of him as a hero, worthy of admiration. But he chose to seek peace for the shinobi world, such a great goal. It's fine if he really does it, but he has led the ninja world to a more cruel abyss. He could have avoided all this, but he listened to it and didn't continue to do it, then this is his sin. Especially, he also implicated ordinary people who were innocent in the war. It's like having a group of people falling under a cliff, and you rescued them with a rope. But you obviously have the power to pull them back, but you just fixed the other end of the rope and left. In the end this group of people starved to death. Do you think you did a good thing? No, you know, even if a group of them fall off a cliff, they won't necessarily all die. Some may be hung on a tree, some may fall into the river. But just because of your unfinished good intentions, they are all dead. So their deaths will all be attributed to you. Because they still had hope of life, but you have killed them all. Speaking of this, Chinhui took a sip from his teacup. Then he said lightly, go back and rest. The predecessors are all gone, what we can do is to grasp the present. Perhaps you think that my plan will not bring real peace, but with Senju Hashirama's philosophy, I cannot be denied. Because of the reality of these decades, it just proves that his idea is wrong. And if I am right or wrong, let time be judged. Anyway, what I brought after uniting the ninja world will not be worse than the era created by Senju Hashirama. After speaking, Chinhui slowly got up and walked out. After Sunade was stunned for a moment, he immediately got up to follow. The next day, Chinhui and three left the town. Chinhui walked in front, Sunade and Shizune followed. Although Sunade doesn't know where Chinhui is going, but since she has decided to join Chinhui's camp, she will not easily regret it. And more importantly, she also wants to see the unified ninja world that Chinhui said. Such a ninja world, will the war completely end? Sunade has no answer. Just like Chinhui said, everything is handed over to time, and it will prove everything. Hey, we've all been away for so long. Where are you going? After following Chinhui all morning, Sunade finally couldn't help asking questions. Chinhui said lazily, don't worry, I won't sell you. Cut. When Sunade heard this, he flipped through Byakugan. Chinhui raised his eyebrows and said, okay, let me tell you. This time, I am going to take a trip to Takanin village. What are you going to do in Takanin village? Sunade frowned, puzzled. But soon, an aura flashed in her mind. Is it for Seven Tails Jinchuriki? Sunade's eyes widened. Chinhui nodded, yes, Takanin village is worth a bit of 7 taels. Sunade frowned and said, yesterday you seemed to be subduing 6 taels, and today you are looking for 7 taels again. Are you going to gather the 9-tailed beasts and form a deterrent? Chinhui flipped through Byakugan and said, do I need the deterrence of the tail beast? Although the tail beast is a disaster in your eyes, it is a pet in my eyes. Even if they are 9 nines together, I can easily solve it now. But if their powers merge together, they can have incredible changes. 9-tailed beasts can still fuse. Sunade suddenly looked incredible. Chinhui thought for a while, and it didn't hurt to tell Sunade. After all, the chakra of 10 tails obtained by the fusion of the 9-tailed beasts must be perfectly controlled by Rinnegan. Otherwise, it will be swallowed by the chakra of 10 tails. And in this world, how many pairs can Rinnegan have? If he did not have systematic help, there is no way to perfectly turn the power of the tail beast into its own. So even if you tell Sunade this secret, she won't be able to do it. So Chinhui looked at Sunade with a compassionate look and said, half-truth and half-truth, seeing that you have asked so sincerely, I will tell you. In fact, in ancient times, there was only one tail beast in the world, and that was 10 tails. 10 tails has the power to destroy the world. So in order to prevent 10 tails from destroying the world, one person stood up and sealed 10 tails in his body, becoming the first generation of 10 tails Jinchuriki. When this person was dying, in order to prevent 10 tails from losing control, he divided 10 tails into the 9-tailed beasts of 9 tails. And this person is Sage of 6 Paths. Chinhui directly concealed the deeds of Otsutsuki Kagaya. This is the biggest secret of the ninja world. And even Sunade and Shizune would not understand it. Shizune in the back suddenly exclaimed, Sage of 6 Paths is not a legend. Chinhui shook his head and said, it's not a legend, Sage of 6 Paths is real. Speaking of which, we are the ancestors of Uchiha and Senju. The ancestors of our 2 races. Sunade suddenly looked at Chinhui dumbfounded. When did Senju who hate each other have a common ancestor? Chinhui smiled and said, Sage of 6 Paths has 2 sons. The eldest son, Indra, founded the Chiba clan. And your second son, Ashura, founded your Senju family. However, because the 2 brothers have different ideas, the descendants of Senju and Uchiha have slowly evolved into an endless situation. After listening to this, Sunade suddenly shook his head in shock. Exclaimed, I didn't expect Senju and Uchiha to have such a relationship. It's incredible. Chinhui shook his head and secretly said, there are so many incredible things in the ninja world. During the conversation, the three of people three have already come to a big waterfall. Chinhui said, "Here, Taki Ninja Village is here, inside." Tsunade asked, "Then let's just break in." Chinhui flipped through Byakugan, and said angrily, "I'm here for 7 tails this time, not to destroy Takanin Village. If we break in an open manner, the group Takanin will make me unhappy after seeing it, and then I will kill Takanin Village. That group, the residents of Takanin Village are not very innocent." Tsunade's mouth twitched. "This theory. I am speechless." "Then go." Chinhui shrugged. Then Tsunade and Shizune suddenly felt their heads dizzy, and once again recovered and appeared in a room. This is. Tsunade's eyes widened. Space-time ninjutsu. She has seen Namikaze Minato use this trick, and even experienced it. "Yes, this is my pupil technique." Chinhui Feng Qingyan nodded lightly. Seeing this, Tsunade couldn't help but secretly said with emotion, "It's really unfathomable." But suddenly, she noticed a problem. She couldn't help but ask, "Since you have space skills, why don't you come directly?" "We have walked for most of the day." Chinhui said with a serious face, "I'm out on a trip this time. Collecting tail beasts is just incidental. So the purpose during this time is secondary, the scenery on the road is more important." "Okay, you just have to be happy." Tsunade has been unable to complain. Just as the two were talking, suddenly, the door was slammed open. Then the three of them saw a little girl with short blue-green hair and orange pupils, looking at them at a loss. What are you doing at my house?" the little girl asked timidly. Chinhui walked to the little girl and paused, and then touched the little girl's head. "You are a foo, I want to take you to make friends." "Make friends?" The girl who was originally dumbfounded had a glimmer of light in her eyes. "Yes." Chinhui smiled and touched the girl's head again. "Do you like this place now?" Hearing this, Fu suddenly shrank subconsciously, and a trace of sadness flashed in his eyes. But looking at Chinhui's sincere eyes, she still shook her head. Said, "No, I don't like. Those villagers don't seem to like me, and no one wants to play with me." At this moment, Tsunade couldn't help but ask softly, "Could it be that this little girl is 7 Tails Jinchuriki?" Chinhui nodded. Then he continued to ask, "Will Nafu go to a place where I can make friends with my brother?" "Willing." Hearing that he could make friends, Fu nodded excitedly. "Then follow me." Chinhui smiled, then took Fu's little hand and stood up. To prevent trouble, he used a little trick. "I didn't expect you to have such a gentle side." Tsunade looked at Chinhui with a rather complicated look. Chinhui shrugged and said, "Fu is still just a child and doesn't understand anything. And as Jinchuriki, I will always be treated differently. I am not a murderous person. As long as I am not a hindrance to my work, I have a gentle attitude towards other people." While speaking, Chinhui took Fu's hand and walked outside. But as soon as he stepped out of the room, he heard a sharp shout. "Stop, who are you?" Chinhui looked up, and in front of him were 3 Takanin with 3 heads wearing forehead protector. "Let go of our Jinchuriki, or we will be welcome." The three Takanin looked at Chinhui warily, and at the same time, one of them took out a flare and quickly launched it. At this time, Tsunade and Shizune also walked out. Seeing this scene, Tsunade suddenly frowned. She stepped forward and asked, "Now that I have been discovered, what shall we do?" Chinhui looked at Tsunade like an idiot. "Since we were discovered, of course we ran." "Run." Tsunade is a little dumbfounded, it doesn't look like Chinhui's style. "Aren't you supposed to be killed?" As soon as he said this, Chinhui looked at Tsunade in surprise. "Tisk tusk, I didn't see it. You are so murderous. If you don't agree, draw your sword." "Yes. This is Tsunade." Chinhui's ridiculous words caused Tsunade's mouth to twitch. She couldn't help secretly regretting, "Why did I just jump out and talk nonsense? It's better not to say anything and let Chinhui handle it by himself. Now it's okay, I was ridiculed like this." The 3 Taki shinobu in the distance looked at Chinhui and Tsunade chatting with incomprehensible expressions. They couldn't help being a little bit awkward. "Obviously we are the protagonist. And this is Takanin Village. You two just ignore us flirting and cursing, really good. These 3 Takanin can be selected for surveillance naturally, Jinchuriki is not a foolish person." After a while, they looked at each other, and then quickly killed Chinhui and Tsunade. Fu is the strongest weapon in their village, absolutely not to be lost. Nah, it seems that we still have to do it. Chenhui shrugged in distress. Originally, he didn't want to do it today, but his luck didn't seem to be very good. After thinking about it, the three Takinen had already arrived in front of Chenhui. They raised kunai and stabbed Chenhui's neck fiercely. Faced with such a flawed attack, Chenhui couldn't help but complain. They all say you are the top 5. The number 1 ninja village under the country, why is the level so bad? And you can still be picked to watch jinchuriki. If you don't agree with me, let's have a close body technique, you guys are really great. While complaining, Chenhui easily escaped the 3-person attack. Then Chenhui quickly kicked out 3 legs, and the 3 Takinobuya were kicked out before they even reacted. After landing, the 3 people helped each other to get up, and looked at Chenhui on the opposite side with an extremely frightened expression. Taki couldn't help but be frightened. Scared and asked, "This man is so strong. Captain, what shall we do?" The leader Taki Shinobu swallowed and spit, "Don't worry, I will come when the village rescues. Let's use ninjutsu to hold them first." The other 2 Takinen nodded immediately, and then the 3 of them quickly got into the seal. "Oh, it's not enough to use ninjutsu." Chenhui nodded slightly, saying that Taki is also a famous ninjutsu village. As a person who takes care of jinchuriki, it is impossible to really know how to ninjutsu. But in the next second, Chenhui's expression instantly condensed. I saw the 3 Taki ninjutsu after printing, immediately release their ninjutsu. Fire style Great Fireball. Big Breakthrough. Water style Rushing Waves. Takinen village is close to the waterfall, so water style has the largest scale of these 3 ninjutsu. But that wind style and fire style unexpectedly merged, and after the fusion, a fireball no less than water style was formed. However, there was a dramatic scene. In the next moment, the fireball and the water wave actually cancelled each other out. Looking at this scene, Chenhui was completely dumbfounded. Are these 3 people in Takinobu deliberately come out for amusement? Sunade at the rear was also surprised. The strength of the number 1 ninja village under these 5 great nations is really too watery. Chenhui helped his forehead and sighed, "What a waste of time. Looking at your funny show, I will spare your lives this time." With that, Chenhui instantly appeared behind the 3 Takinobu. Then he stunned them before they could react, and completely ended the farce. Let's go, more teasing in Takinen village will be coming soon. Chenhui greeted, and then disappeared in place with Tsunade and the others. And just a few minutes after he left, a large number of Taki Shinobu came here. But the only people who greeted them were the 3 teasers lying on the ground. And Jinchuriki, who made them think about it, completely disappeared. Seeing this, the leader of Takinen instantly stepped forward and immediately awakened the 3 teases. "Come on, the Jinchuriki people." The leader of Dujuan woke up. After hearing the leader's question, he immediately explained what had just happened. After the narration, he immediately shouted, "Leader, you must go after it. Taki Shinobu village can't be lost." Jinchuriki. The leader nodded and asked, "Describe the appearance of the 3 people, we will chase them right away." That, Funny said immediately. There are also 2 young women, one with black hair and black clothes, with a relatively ordinary appearance. There is another woman, very beautiful, with blonde hair and a dark green coat, and there is a word, gambling, behind the coat. When listening to Chenhui and Shizun's description, the leader frowned, he was not familiar with them. But after hearing the description of Tsunade, his eyes widened suddenly, and his body couldn't stop shaking slightly. "Boss, what's wrong with you?" Do found something wrong with the leader. The leader suddenly felt a little excited, but his face was bitter. He said, "No need to chase, I know that person, there is no way to catch up with us." The other Taki Shinobu became anxious when they heard this. "Boss, they took our Jinchuriki." "Yes, we can't just let them go." "Yes, let the leader give the order, we are not afraid of sacrifice for the village." With an angry voice, the leader slowly stood up. He said in a deep voice, "Don't worry, I won't just leave it alone. That, the blonde woman, I know, she is Tsunade, one of Konoha Sanin. I immediately questioned Konoha and asked them to return our Jinchuriki. If they are not willing, even if they start a war, they will not hesitate." "Yes," Hearing this, the group of Taki shinobu immediately responded in unison. Seeing this, the leader's face suddenly showed an imperceptible smile. Actually, Takanin village is not as weak as Chinhui imagined. No matter the number or quality of ninjas in Takanin village, it far surpasses other small ninja villages, only under the 5 great ninja villages. Not counting Rain Shinobi village but Takanin village except. Neither of the ninja world wars participated. And because the village is extremely hidden, it has never conflicted with other shinobu villages. Therefore, for decades, the ninjas of Taki Ninja Village have hardly experienced battles. That's why the ridiculous operation of using ninjutsu indiscriminately. However, the leader of this generation of Takanin Village has good skills, so he has begun to change Takanin Village. And this time Jinchuriki was captured, it was the opportunity for him to think about it day and night. After all, Konoha is now alive and dead. At that time, everyone in the ninja world wanted to get a share of the pie. At this moment, Tsunade took away Jinchuriki from their village. This is the reason for the best offensive in Takanin village. As for Konoha's people, do they know? This is not important. Konoha has to carry this black pot on his back anyway. The leader thought with lofty ambition. Look, Taki Shinobu will expand in my hands. I want to replace Konoha and become the new 5 ninja village. Chapter 71. What? In the Naruto office, Danzo on the side slapped the desk and glared at the Anbu who was sending the message. Takanin village dare to send us a diplomatic warning. The Anbu said without panic. Yes, Lord Naruto, Lord Danzo. Takanin village not long ago notified the ninja world to question us. They said Tsunade-sama took their Jinchuriki. For this they demanded that we return Jinchuriki, otherwise they would wage war against Konoha. Danzo was immediately furious when he heard this. He shouted angrily, it's really the opposite. A small Takanin village dared to threaten Konoha with war. With that, Danzo quickly turned his head to look at Sarutobi Hiruzen. Noha can't be counseled about this matter, I will take the roots of my men to destroy Takanin village now. Hiruzen, give an order. Sarutobi Hiruzen did not answer immediately, but took a bit of smoke. Then he said, Danzo, don't worry, there are still many doubts about this matter. First of all, why did Tsunade go to Takanin village to kidnap their Jinchuriki? Secondly, if Tsunade really does something like this during this period, what is her intention? Danzo also frowned slightly when he heard this. Then he opened his mouth to speak, but suddenly noticed Anbu on the side. He suddenly said nothing. Sarutobi Hiruzen waved his hand when he saw this, and said to that. Anbu said, go down first. Anbu nodded, and then quickly left, leaving only Sarutobi Hiruzen and Danzo in the office. Without outsiders, Danzo suddenly stopped thinking about it and said, Hiruzen, do you think it is possible? Tsunade wants to retaliate against Konoha in this way. After all, when she left, she knew about the Senju clan. As soon as Danzo said this, Sarutobi Hiruzen shook his hand, and then smoked his pipe even more. His eyes were uncertain. Danzo's words completely pierced the darkest part of his heart. After a long time, Sarutobi Hiruzen calmed down. He said slowly, Tsunade shouldn't do such a thing. Although she laughed at the beginning, a large part of it was out of resentment towards us. But Tsunade is a villager who loves Konoha, that's for sure. So she won't do something like this to make Konoha even more dangerous. Danzo sneered when he heard this. He said gloomily, Hiruzen, you can't say that. People will change, not to mention this is almost 10 years old. Are you sure that Tsunade's character is still the same as before and will not change? You know that Tsunade hasn't paid any attention to any of our contacts in the past 10 years. And not long ago, when Konoha was most dangerous, we couldn't even contact her. If Jiraiya hadn't come back in time, Konoha might have been destroyed now. Such a Tsunade, are you still sure that she won't be against Konoha? As soon as these words came out, Sarutobi Hiruzen's heart became irritable. He frowned and said, now that I say this, what's the use? Let's discuss the matter of Takanin village, this is the top priority. Danzo suddenly slammed when he heard the words, and shouted, Hiruzen, you can't escape anymore. Now that Konoha has reached the point of life and death, we can no longer have the slightest kind of mercy. Leave me the Tsunade matter with Taki Shinobu village. Trust me, I will handle it properly. Sarutobi Hiruzen puffed up again. After a long time, he seemed to have made up his mind. He said in a deep voice to Danzo, "Okay, I will leave these two things to you. But I hope you remember one thing. Tsunade is a hero of World War II, a princess appointed by a big name, and a granddaughter of first Hokage. Without a last resort, Konoha can't completely disconnect from her." Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded, and a flower suddenly appeared on Danzo's face. He smiled and said, "Don't worry, I have a sense of measure." The next day, things related to Tsunade began to circulate in Konoha. Villager 1. I heard that Takanin village is going to fight us. Villager 2. I know about this. It seems that Tsunade-sama, who has been away from the village for many years, kidnapped important people in their village. No, how could Suna-sama do such a thing? What are you doing to lie to you? Now the whole ninja world is circulating. Then maybe Tsunade people have her own ideas. Villager 3. This is not only the inside story. Tell you, the last time Cloud Shinobi village was in such an uproar, it was said that the village couldn't reach Master Tsunade. Had it not been for Master Jilai, we would definitely have been defeated at that time. Ah, there is such a thing. The story of Tsunade in the village is spreading. Gradually, the villagers have a lot of negative feelings about Tsunade. Although this is not enough for everyone to shout and beat Tsunade, her prestige has begun to decline rapidly. And all this is what Danzo wants to see. He is not only planning the present, but also planning the future. Sarutobi Hiruzen knows this. Afterwards, there was no response. Seeing this, Danzo was satisfied with his routes and left, rushing to the border of Takino country. Although there are only 1,000 people at the route, facing the Takanin village with more than 2,000 jonin, it is at a disadvantage in terms of numbers. But Danzo is confident to defeat Takanin village with the fastest speed. Because the routes are all elites, and Takanin they are a group of rookies who haven't fought much before. But Danzo is not going to confront Takinobu as soon as he comes up. He first followed Sarutobi Hiruzen's instructions and explained to Taki Shinobu village. Tsunade's behavior Konoha did not know, and Konoha could not contact Tsunade. And this incident may be caused by other ninja villages, who deliberately changed into Tsunade to take jinchuriki from Takanin village, with the purpose of destroying the friendship between Konoha and Takanin. I hope that Takanin village will be aware of the details and not fall into the tricks of the treacherous people. But the leader of Takanin village doesn't care if it's Tsunade who kidnapped jinchuriki. He heard a message from Konoha's words. Konoha is now at the end of the crossbow. Otherwise Konoha would not sit down and talk to Takanin. The village explained. So, holding the goal of Everbright Takanin village, the leader of Takanin village launched an offensive against Danzo. Then, Takanin village began to be unilaterally shackled by Konoha, only to fight for 3 days. Takanin village was unable to withstand the offensive of the roots. The skinny camel is bigger than a horse, and Konoha is weaker. It is not the Takanin village can contend at this time. Not to mention that Konoha is still the leader of Danzo. This old yin, and he still has the strength of the shadow class. On the other hand, the strongest in Takanin village is just the elite jonin. But although the battle went well, Danzo was not happy at all. Because they were dragged by Takanin village. Danzo underestimated the power of Takanin village. Even though the roots were far stronger than Takanin village, it didn't take 2 or 3 months. The war here will not end. But 2 or 3 months is enough to change the current situation. Sunagakure and Iwagakure are eyeing each other, but Konoha on the border on both sides only has 1,000 people each. And in Konoha village, there are barely 1,000 people who can fight at this time. Once Sunagakure and Iwagakure have an attack, Konoha will not have the ability to resist. And Sunagakure and Iwagakure will naturally not let go of this excellent opportunity. As soon as I received the news of the battle between Takanin village and the roots, he immediately began to garrison troops at the border of the country of fire. The danger of destroying the village is at this time. Hey, are you all done with this? Tsunade yelled to Chinhui in front of him with a slight dissatisfaction. At this time, in order to avoid being affected by the war and ruining his mood, Chinhui has brought Tsunade and the others to the border of Takino country. Calculate what I need to do that superfluous thing. Chinhui turned his head and curled his lips, but he was not angry at Tsunade's words. He is in a good mood today. Just last night, Chinhui took away part of the origin of 7 tails in Fu's body. After swallowing infusion, he unexpectedly reached the critical point of chakra. Then with the help of the system, Chinhui successfully broke through to the peak of Super Shadow. This strength is no longer comparable to Uchiha Madara before Rinnegan is turned on, and Senju Hashirama who does not use Sage Mode go up and down. And as long as Chinhui has achieved the final 1 tail, 4 tails and 5 tails, he will be able to successfully cross the 6 levels. In this way, this trip is simply perfect. But everything is a coincidence. Tsunade couldn't help but give a wry smile. You took Fu with your front feet and back feet, and you didn't kill those few Takinen's mouth. Taki Shinobu at the back foot attributed all this to Konoha. This is really. Chinhui smiled and said, I've always been too lazy to calculate anything, just use my strength to sweep the past. This time I can only say that Konoha has bad luck. Fu was still a child. In front of her that day, the villagers who killed her had a bad influence. If she accidentally left a psychological shadow on her, it would not be worth the loss. With that said, Chinhui touched Fu's little head. Seeing this, Tsunade stopped talking about it. Although I only got along for a few days, Tsunade also got a general understanding of Chinhui's habits. He doesn't bother to lie to other people, and he is not as bloodthirsty as rumors outside. Chinhui continued. But Takinen village dares to declare war on Konoha. This is something I didn't expect. Even if the current Konoha is weak, it cannot be provoked by its little Takinen village. After all, the current ninjas in Takinen village have not only poor combat experience, but the strongest ones are just the elite Jonin. So no matter how bad this incident will cause Konoha's situation, Takinen village will be ruthlessly destroyed by Konoha. They were considered clever this time, but they were mistaken by cleverness. Then where are we going back to Onin village? Tsunade asked. Chinhui flipped through Byakugan and said, why are you going back? How boring Tenten is in the office. Take advantage of the difficulty, and let's talk about it for a year or a half. Stand on a Mizukage like you. Mizukage is really. Tsunade suddenly twitched the corner of his mouth. Chinhui, haha, smiled, and said, standing on a Mizukage like me, Mizukage, let's have fun. While talking and laughing, the group slowly approached the border between Taki no Kuni and Kus no Kuni. Because these 2 countries are small countries, they are not very rich in resources. Therefore, the place is still peaceful, and the 2 countries even joined forces to build a small city. Chinhui took Tsunade and them into a hotel. While opening the room, Chinhui asked, the store, do you have any fun here? Seeing that Chinhui and his party were dressed up as ordinary people, the store immediately felt relieved. He said, there is a waterfall on the west side, which is a more famous beauty in here. Thanks. Chinhui nodded, and turned around to go upstairs. But at this time, the store suddenly pulled him. Then the store whispered, when you reach the waterfall, don't wander around. Because it is 3 kilometers away from the waterfall, there is a very strange place. It is said that there is a monster there that often attacks passing tourists and nearby villages. But he seems to only appear in certain places, and I haven't seen him appear for a while. So just go to the waterfall, but there is nothing dangerous. Monster. Chinhui's heart suddenly moved. Thanks. He smiled at the store, then turned and walked upstairs with Tsunade and others. When there was no one around, Tsunade began to ask, why, you are very interested in that, the monster, the store said. It's really interesting. Chinhui nodded, but not to that monster, but to Orochimaru. Orochimaru. Hearing this name, Tsunade frowned. Chinhui explained, Orochimaru's research ability is outstanding, it is a talent I hope to get. After he defected to Konoha, he actually established laboratories in various places and continued to conduct human experiments secretly. I suspect that there is an Orochimaru laboratory in this place. That monster may have escaped from the laboratory, and was caught back recently. Tsunade continued to ask, so you are going to find Orochimaru? Chinhui nodded and said, yes, Orochimaru's whereabouts are difficult to determine. So this time, maybe it's a chance to find him. Let's go see it together tomorrow. The next day, Chinhui and a group of people came to the waterfall. Chinhui asked Tsunade Shizune to take Fu to play, and then went to the highest point of the waterfall with Tsunade. How are you going to find? Tsunade asked. Just look. Chinhui smiled slightly. Then he immediately mobilized Ten Tails Chakra and the Fairy Chakra. After a while, everything within a radius of 10 kilometers was clearly perceived by Chinhui. This is only Chinhui for precise search, otherwise the range will be expanded to dozens of kilometers without pressure. What? But soon, Chinhui said softly. What's happening? Sunade asked immediately. Chinhui said, it seems that I guessed wrong, there is no Orochimaru laboratory here. However, I do have new gains. Oh, Sunade, who was a little disappointed after hearing the previous sentence, suddenly became interested again. Follow me. Chinhui smiled, and then disappeared with Sunade instantly. Outside a cave, Chinhui's Sunade appeared instantly. This is where the monster is. Chinhui said a word, and then walked into the cave first. Upon seeing this, Sunade did not hesitate to keep up. But as soon as they entered the cave, the two heard a whisper. Don't come, come here and I will kill you. Upon hearing this, Sunade became curious about the monster inside. Chinhui did not respond at all to this, and still walked forward unhurriedly. Soon, the two came to a cage. In the depths of the cage, there was a faint person sitting on the ground curled up. The figure raised its head, and the low voice sounded again. Who are you? Save your man, Chinhui said lightly. However, the figure did not move at all, but suddenly roared, Get out of here, I can't help but kill you. Chinhui smiled slightly and said, Then try it. As soon as these words came out, the figures in the cage suddenly no longer endured. Roar. He only heard him growl, and then rushed to Chinhui quickly. Sunade saw this and stepped back slightly. She knew that Chinhui didn't need her to help. In the next instant, the figure shattered the cage in a circle, and after stirring up the dust in the sky, he still castrately shot at Chinhui. Pop. However, Chinhui only raised his hand gently, and blocked the blow that was like a broken bamboo. This kind of power is not bad, and Jonin may not accept it. How can it be? The figure looked at this scene unimaginably. He knows how powerful his fist is after he transforms, but he knows it. But the person in front of him can catch his full blow so easily. Chinhui nodded with satisfaction at this time, and said, The violent mode Shanshu Chakra, the increase in power is stronger. You are called Jungo, right? Who are you? Zongwu looked at Chinhui blankly. At this time, half of his face was covered with black symbols, and one pupil became extremely weird. And his right hand was still enlarged several times, just like a monster. Chinhui smiled slightly and said, I am Uchiha Chinhui, this time I want to take you out. After hearing this, Shigego shook his head madly. No. If I go out, I won't be able to control myself, and then many innocent people will be injured. Chinhui nodded when he heard the words, and said, What a kind child. With that said, he started to mobilize the chakra in his body, and then input a little bit into Chongwu. In front of Chinhui's perfect fairy, the chakra in Chongwu was so weak. So it was just a moment, the talisman on Chongwu's face, the text faded away, and his mind instantly regained clarity. At the same time, his body was restored to its original shape. So amazing. Chongwu can't look at his recovered hands with confidence, and he has recovered calm. Chinhui smiled at Chongwu. How about going out with me? I can let you keep it. Can be quiet. From then on, you won't become a monster again. Really? Chongo looked at Chinhui excitedly, and there were even some tears in his eyes. He is kind by nature, he likes to chat with small animals most, and he is extremely close to nature. But just a few years ago, he seemed to be cursed, and he would lose his mind from time to time. Even a few months ago, he personally slaughtered his own village. So he hated his irrational self very much, so he would lose his mind. Shut in a cave. But his heart still yearns for freedom, so it makes him extremely miserable. But now, Chinhui can keep him sensible, and said that he will never become a monster again. How can he be unhappy? Come out with us. Chinhui nodded to Sunade, then turned and walked outside the cave. Seeing this, Shigego did not hesitate to follow. In front, Sunade frowned and asked, This kid, is there something sickness? Chinhui shook his head and said, This is not a disease, but a talent. His body is very special, extremely natural energy. Natural energy. Tsunade suddenly exclaimed. As a contract with the wet-bone forest, the hand naturally knows the horror of natural energy. That is something that allows people to enter Sage mode, which can increase their strength several times in all directions, and the world can learn Sage mode. There are only 3 holy places. And Tsunade knows that her grandfather Senju Hashirama will be in Sage mode. But her grandfather's Sage mode was learned by herself and has nothing to do with the 3 holy places. The power of Ashura is the unique wood-style fairy technique. The original book recalls the descriptions of the ancient times. Chinhui nodded and continued. Plus where he is, it is very close to Raichi Cave, and it is always there all the time. Leak a huge amount of natural energy. So in such an environment, Shigego's body unknowingly stores a lot of natural energy. But he has not learned how to control this ability, so he unconsciously entered the pseudo-sage mode. That is the state of the curse seal just now. In this state, he will completely lose his will under the violent natural energy. That's it. Tsunade just came across. But soon, Tsunade's eyes widened again. Wait, you just said Raichi Cave is nearby. Chinhui nodded, and said, yes, let's go check it out now. After speaking, Chinhui took the 2 to go deep into the mountains and forests. Soon, the 3 of them came to a hidden secret cave. For some reason, seeing the scene here, Tsunade and Master shuddered at the same time. Are we going in? Tsunade asked with a wince. No, there are too many secrets inside. Chinhui was also solemn at this time. This is the first time he has felt nervous since he came to this world. Because he sensed that there is an extremely vast power in this cave. The vastness made his heart tremble when he had reached the peak of the super shadow. This is definitely a 6th-level power. Chinhui knows that the master of this power is definitely the White Snake Fairy. And this cave is not the real entrance of Raichi Cave. Raichi Cave is actually in a different space, and this cave mouth is nothing but a different space. That's all connected. In this regard, Chinhui suddenly guessed, not only Raichi Cave, but the other 2 holy places are also in different spaces. Thinking of this, Chinhui couldn't help sighing. Secretly said, it seems that there is no way to explore this time. Chinhui is actually very interested in the 3 holy places, because the original work alone makes him feel unfathomable. After all, the great Toad Sage was able to teach Sage of 6 paths without Kagaya thousands of years ago. This is obviously it's not something ordinary people can do. And Chinhui has some guesses about it. Sealing Kagaya is actually a secret plan of the 3 holy sites, and Sage of 6 paths is just a pawn. And the reason they want to do this is to solve the sacred tree. Because the sacred tree is devouring the vitality of this world all the time. You know, in fact, the land area of the planet where the ninja world is located is not smaller than that of the blue star from afar. At this time, the area of the ninja world is only a few tenths of the complete land. From the map of the ninja world, you can see that it is located at the environment of the kingdom of wind and land in the west is extremely bad. For the places further west, the original text does not describe it. But after arriving in this world, according to the classic Chinhui, he knew what the west side looked like. The environment there is extremely harsh, and humans cannot survive for even an hour in it. What caused all this is the sacred tree. The sacred tree swallowed most of the planet's vitality, and when Kagaya descended, only the genin world remained. This last point is intact. It was also because Kagaya ate the fruit of the sacred tree in advance, so the current ninja world survived. At this point, there is another question. Why did the 3 holy sites not pick the fruit of the sacred tree before Kagaya came? Chinhui guessed that the fruit of the sacred tree can only be picked by the Otsutsuki clan. Otherwise, why the fruit has been planted for so many years? It can be preserved so well. You know, it's not. All human beings have a sense of awe. And the Otsutsuki clan will not just place precious sacred tree fruits like this. Therefore, the Otsutsuki family must have a ban on the sacred tree. In fact, according to the original work, in this universe, the planet Ninja is on is far stronger than other planets. First of all, it is reflected in the strength of the future Otsutsuki trio. The original Kagaya is very afraid of these 3, even for the sake of dealing with them also worked hard to create the White Zetsu army. But when the 3 people came, the real strength was not satisfactory. Although the original Naruto and Sasuke were embarrassed, they managed to eliminate the trio. You must know that the real strength of the two Naruto is far less than that of Kagaya. Kagaya can be successfully sealed by relying on the power of yin and yang given by Sage of Six Paths to perform the six paths of planetary devastation. And luck is a big part. In addition, Kagaya has no combat experience, and Naruto successfully sealed this silly white sweet. Then why is Kagaya with such strength afraid of the trio? Chinhui guessed that Kagaya may not understand the value of the fruit she ate. In her opinion, maybe all the fruits are the same. And the trio who ate a lot of fruits is definitely better than her who only ate one. That's why she is so nervous. From this point of view, the power of this planet is shown from the side. An immature fruit can be worthy of the trio's 1,000 years of accumulation. Secondly, it is reflected in the three holy places. The sage mode of the three holy places, which is cultivated to a certain extent, it is an ability no less than the 6th level. As for the higher levels, although the original book does not show it, Chinhui has practiced the most perfect sage mode, so he can feel the tremendous power of this kind. Potential. As long as the training time is enough, it seems that there is no upper limit. If there is no Otsutsuki to plant the sacred tree on this planet, perhaps the natural energy of this planet will replace the current existence of chakra under the evolution of time. At that time, the ninja may change for the cultivator. Although the idea is incredible, it is definitely possible. After all, the most basic performance of sage mode is that the vitality is far stronger than the normal state. And the group of small animals in the three holy places, because of this, I have a lifespan that far exceeds that of humans. And the three holy places also have flying, escape, invisibility, all kinds of celestial arts, etc., a series of incredible abilities. This is the same as Chinhui's previous life. The cultivators described in ancient books are almost the same. However, the current sage mode of the ninja world uses not the pure natural energy, but the celestial chakra, which is a fusion of natural energy and chakra. In this world, it's really hard to say which one is strong and which one is weak. Looking at the performance of Shigego after transforming, the natural energy of the essence is not necessarily stronger than chakra. After all, there is a lot of natural energy in his body. Of course, it may also be that this planet has been destroyed too violently, causing a large loss of natural energy. Or it may be that the Naruto world is relatively weak, resulting in a relatively low level of natural energy. This makes the natural energy not show much style. Moreover, chakra is a combination of physical energy and spiritual energy. The Otsutsuki family even collects it with planets as nutrients. It also has great potential. But this also reflects the power of the planet where the ninja world is located. After all, Shanshu is also comparable to the power of the 6th level yang. In a moment, Chinhui was in his thoughts while Tsunade and Shigego waited quietly, occasionally watching Raichi cave curiously. Soon, Chinhui recovered. Then he took a deep look at the cave in front of him, and walked in the direction where he had come without looking back. Seeing this, Shigeo immediately followed, and at this moment he has completely trusted Chinhui. Tsunade was suddenly a little confused at this time. She hurriedly followed and asked, "We just left like this?" Chinhui shook his head and said, "The water inside is too deep, not suitable for us to explore now. Especially, and you two oil bottles." Cut. Tsunade curled his lips, then muttered, "What's so scary? I haven't visited the wet-bone forest of the three holy places, and I haven't seen any danger." Chinhui said lightly, "Then you don't go anymore." As soon as these words came out, Tsunade's heart suddenly tightened and her brows frowned. Then she hurriedly asked, Is there any problem?" As Chinhui walked, he said, "I can't see what is wrong now, but it is better to be careful. The control of these three holy places are all old monsters that have lived for thousands of years, and they have existed in the 6 paths period. And these three holy places should not be in the ninja world, but in different spaces. With such a transcendent existence, you and Jiraiya, Orochimaru, it happens that everyone has a relationship with a holy place. And before the three of you, there has never been a legend of the three holy places in the ninja world. There must be a big problem in this. Now my strength is still weaker than them, so I'm still careful. When I have enough strength, I will carefully explore and explore." After Chinhui said this, Tsunade immediately noticed a hint of conspiracy. This is indeed a coincidence. When the three of them first chose the summoning beast, they were less than a month apart, and they met their favorite summoning beast. I thought it was luck, but now. Tsunade shook her head. She is now more and more unable to understand the shinobi world. But now that she has already set foot on Chinhui's boat, she doesn't have to worry about all this, and do it well. Just do your own business. After all, if Chinhui's strength can't be solved, she knows it won't help. Chinhui and the three of them drifted away. But in the alien space of Raikage Cave, a huge white snake sage suddenly opened his eyes. This breath, there is such a powerful existence in the ninja world. This big snake is the master of Raikage Cave, the White Snake Fairy. After a little thought, the White Snake Fairy closed his eyes again and entered a special spiritual world. Dead Toad, I just came here with a strong presence, not weaker than Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara decades ago. Do you have any warning? Oh. As soon as this statement came out, two other suspicious sounds suddenly sounded. They are the Great Toad Sage and the Katsuyu Fairy. Toad Sage said, I didn't expect such a powerful person to appear in the ninja world so soon. I didn't, and many more. The elder Toad Sage was talking, but there was no sound for a moment. Fairy White Snake and Fairy Katsuyu didn't urge either. They knew it was Toad Sage who was launching an early warning technique. After a long time, the big Toad Sage was moving again. It said, I didn't notice it at all, but when you just said the White Snake, the early warning technique suddenly triggered. What do you see? Immortal White Snake hurriedly asked. Toad Sage said, the prophecies that I saw have disappeared, and the future has completely changed. Then I instantly lost the ability to predict the future. The Fairy Katsuyu said, it seems that all of this has something to do with the person who broke into Raikage Cave. Such variables. Are we going to deal with them? No need. Toad Sage directly rejected the proposal. At the beginning, we had an agreement with Ludao, we can't interfere with Ninja World. So leave it to Ludao to deal with it. If he can't handle it, then we guess it. The spiritual world suddenly became quiet. After a long time, Toad Sage sighed. A good world, how come that group of Otsutsuki guys are staring at you? Now that there are new variables, I don't know what this world will become. Unfortunately, our accumulation is not enough now, even the 6 ways are difficult to solve, otherwise. Let's go away first. I put a burst of energy in your body, which allows you to control the transformation without losing your mind. Take advantage of this energy suppression, you now learn to control the natural energy in your body. When you don't need me to suppress it, you can walk the ninja world by yourself. Practice hard. During this period of time, Chinhui moved toward the Kingdom of Wind, while the professor also focused on Wuhefu. Both of them have good talents and abilities, one has natural energy and the other has 7 tails. So Chinhui doesn't mind training them appropriately. Especially Jungo, Chinhui attaches great importance to his role. Although the curse seal developed from Jungwoo is slightly weaker than the real immortal model, it can also increase the user's strength by several times. This is simply a weapon to rapidly enhance the strength of his subordinates. However, although Orochimaru in the original work has researched it, the fatality rate is very high. But now that Chinhui is ready to intervene, he will naturally eliminate the hidden danger of curse imprints. After all, there is a systematic perfect sage mode. This ninja theory has a great effect on natural energy. Understand, Chinhui can be said to be the strongest without any suspense. Now that Chongwu has found it, then it should be Ion Snake, next. However, before going to find Ion Snake, Chinhui is still preparing to get the origin of the last 3 tail beasts. After all, now in addition to Sage of 6 Paths, Chinhui has 3 more sacred places, 3 potential enemies. So we still have to get a 6th level power first. It's dark, let's go to the village in front to settle down. Tsunade stepped forward and said. At this time, they are on a hillside, and under the hill is a village with bright lights. The front is Sao Yin Village, Chinhui asked. Tsunade nodded, and said, it's not a big village, the only thing that is famous is their unique restraint technique. Therefore, various countries used their restraint techniques to establish a prison in the Ghost Lamp City in the border waters of the Country of Grass. In the prison, there are ninjas who have made big mistakes in various countries. When Tsunade said this, Chinhui suddenly remembered a theatrical version of the original book. And this theatrical version happened to be about Cao Yin Village. There is a box called Ultimate Weapon, which Chinhui thinks can be used for research. After thinking for a while, Chinhui said, "Let's go in and rest for a night." After that, he led everyone down the mountain. But as she got closer to Cao Yin Village, Tsunade slowly frowned. Then she solemnly said, "What a strong smell of blood." Chinhui nodded and said, "It seems that Cao Yin Village has just gone through a big battle." Even so, Chinhui's progress has not stopped. When Tsunade and others saw this, they did not hesitate to keep up. With Chinhui there, they don't feel threatened. Slowly, the outline of Cao Yin Village became clearer and clearer. But Chinhui suddenly discovered that a little girl was curled up and squatting on the roadside in front. Behind her, there was a dilapidated thatched house. This feeling and hair color. Tsunade's eyes narrowed. The feeling this girl gave her, the familiar hair color, reminded her of a person Uzumaki Kushina. Could it be the Uzumaki people who are living outside? Tsunade suddenly got a little excited. In the shinobi world, the Uzumaki clan is arguably the closest family to the Senju clan. And Tsunade's grandmother is the princess of the Uzumaki clan, which makes Tsunade even closer to the Uzumaki clan. Now she is the only one left in the Senju clan, and the Uzumaki clan, which is a distant relative of Senju, has been destroyed a long time ago. The surviving Uzumaki clan lives in every corner of the ninja world, and the number is very small. Now I encounter a suspicion. The girl of the Uzumaki tribe survivor, Tsunade was so excited that she couldn't speak. She immediately walked towards the girl. And the moment Chinhui saw the girl, Tsunade's reaction, familiar hair color, and the grassy village where she was located. He also immediately understood the identity of the girl Uzumaki Phosphorus. Thinking of this, Chinhui remembered the tragic childhood of Phosphorus. Suddenly, Chinhui glanced at Cao Yin Village in the distance with a pitying look. "Your retribution is here." After Tsunade approached Xianglin, he saw that she was sobbing quietly, and immediately knelt down and touched her hair. Then Tsunade asked gently, "Little sister, what are you doing here?" Xianglin raised his head, and the moment he saw Tsunade, a kind of intimacy suddenly emerged in his heart. She sobbed and said, "My mother was taken away, and she has never returned." Taken away by someone. Tsunade suddenly narrowed his eyes. But she still said gently, "It doesn't matter, my sister will take you to find your mother." Really? A ray of light flashed in the gray eyes of the incense phosphor. Of course. Tsunade smiled and asked, "Little sister, what's your name?" Aroma Phosphorus immediately got up and said, "My name is Uzumaki Aroma Phosphorus." Really? Tsunade suddenly felt happy. She felt right. Then she calculated. That said, her mother is also from the Uzumaki clan. And there may be more Uzumaki people in Cao Yin Village. Thinking of this, Tsunade became even more excited. He found 2 or even more relatives at once, which made Tsunade, who was used to loneliness, suddenly have the urge to cry. However, when Tsunade wanted to continue to inquire, he found a man wearing the forehead protector of Cao Yin Village, walking towards this side. The man also spotted Chinhui and his party, and also found that Tsunade was pulling him on the trip. "The goal," he suddenly shouted. "Who are you?" At the same time, his pace has accelerated several times. But when he came closer, he found that Chinhui's 3 people were all dressed up as ordinary people. It seems to be just ordinary passing tourists. The man breathed a sigh of relief, but still did not let go of his guard. He said in a deep voice to Chinhui and others, "You are here to settle down. Cao Yin Village is not convenient for reception now, please leave." Before Chinhui could speak, Tsunade pulled the Xianglin forward. She yelled and asked, "Where is Xianglin's mother?" The man frowned slightly and said impatiently, "This is a matter in our village, no comment. Leave quickly, or I will do it." When Tsunade heard the words, her heart burst into flames. She strode forward and grabbed the man by the collar and slipped him into the air. Then Tsunade asked coldly, "I'll ask you again, where is Xianglin's mother?" At the same time, the murderous aura belonging to the shadow class instantly enveloped this man. The man looked at Tsunade in horror, and stammered, her mother, died." As soon as these words came out, Tsunade and Xiao Xianglin were stunned. After a while, Xianglin suddenly cried and shouted, "Mom!" This cry awakened Tsunade, and her chest was suddenly filled with anger. She gritted her teeth and asked, "How did she die?" The man didn't dare to conceal the slightest. He immediately said, "When she was treating our wounded, chakra was suddenly exhausted, just. Boom. Before the man had finished speaking, Tsunade directly smashed him to the ground. Under the eruption of strange power, the surrounding land was directly cracked. Blood splashed on her face, but she did not respond at all. Tsunade, I can no longer suppress the anger in my heart. She who is extremely close to the Uzumaki clan, how can she not know what the so-called treatment is? That is to use the Uzumaki clan as medicine. And this man even came to find incense phosphorus. It means that they are not even going to let go of fragrant phosphorus, who is less than 10 years old. This makes Tsunade, who was just happy to find his relatives, suddenly full of violence and murder. You. Tsunade raised his head and looked at Cao Yin village in the distance with murderous eyes. At the moment when she knew the identity of Xianglin, she included Xianglin mother and daughter into the range of her relatives. Cao Yin village dared to use her relatives as medicine, and let her relatives sacrifice their lives for it. Tsunade has already done so. In my heart, I was sentenced to death for Cao Yin village. Chenhui saw this and said flatly, "Her mother is in the hospital, the very center of Cao Yin village." Tsunade nodded, and said blankly, "Help me take care of the fragrant phosphorus." With that said, she strode towards Cao Yin village. Seeing this, Chenhui didn't have any dissatisfaction. Tsunade needed to vent at this time. As for Cao Yin village, the small village that didn't matter was destroyed, it was ruined. Come on. Chenhui picked up the fragrant phosphorus who was squatting on the ground and sobbing, and then slowly walked towards Cao Yin village. Let's go and see all. After following me for more than a month, it's time for you to see the cruelty of the genin world. Shizun's Trio 3 heard this and immediately followed. As he walked, Chenhui said to the fragrant phosphorus in his arms, "Tsunade will avenge your mother. From today, you can also treat us as your relatives." Xianglin was still sobbing, but at this time she had already raised her head. With tearful eyes, she looked at the Cao Yin village in front of her angrily, where her mother died. Then, she took a very complicated glance at Chenhui. She didn't know whether Chenhui and the others really wanted to help her, or they just used her as a tool like Cao Yin village. But now, at least Chenhui and the others are avenging her mother. The huge movement just made by Tsunade has long attracted the attention of Cao Yin village. At this time, Cao Yin village is going through a war, so in just a moment, hundreds of people gathered at the entrance of the village. And the number is still increasing. But Tsunade didn't feel any fear when he saw this, and he still walked towards the Kushininas with a murderous aura. "Who are you?" The leader Kushinin yelled to Tsunade. Tsunade suddenly stopped when she heard the words, and she coldly scanned the group of Kwanin in front of her. "Kill your people." A deep voice sounded, and Tsunade stomped his foot abruptly, leaving a huge hole in the ground. Then in a blink of an eye, she moved to the group of Kushinino, Tien Shoujiao. Tsunade kicked it down, and the leader Kushinin was knocked down to the ground and lost his life. At the same time, this kick also caused the ground with a radius of more than 10 meters centered on Kushinin to burst. Within this range the Kusano Shinobu was also knocked to the ground by a huge impact. Then Tsunade began a merciless slaughter. 5 minutes later, with the blessing of the strange power, Tsunade's every punch and every kick was let down. The soil and rocks in the hit area were cracked, and the group of Sao Ren suffered heavy casualties, and the death was extremely tragic. Shigeo Kazufu, who watched this scene from a distance, suddenly swallowed and vomited subconsciously. Fuji stammered, "I didn't expect Tsunade's sister to have such a violent side." At this time, Shizun was also secretly crying, "The angry man is terrifying." After another 5 minutes, watching Shiwei finally took action. "Okay, Tsunade's vent is almost done, I'm going to replace her." With that said, Chenhui waved his hand, and Tsunade, who was square, came back here instantly. Tsunade panted and said, "Don't stop me, I can still fight." Chenhui said lightly, "Your current chakra has bottomed out, right? If you are fighting, you have to use the 100 healings mark. 10 minutes of full output, and every move and every style is using strange power, which makes Tsunade's chakra a bit unbearable." After all, after so many years of desolation, Tsunade's strength has long been weakened to the edge of the shadow class. Tsunade still gasped and said, as long as you can kill these guys, how about using the 100 healings mark? Chinhui jokingly said, that's not good, I'm not used to getting along with grandma. At that time, be careful I lost you. With that said, Chinhui handed the fragrant phosphorus to Tsunade. Tsunade hesitated for a moment, but took it. It's up to me next. After the handover was completed, Chinhui turned and walked towards the group of grass forbearance. The Xianglin in Tsunade's arms looked at Chinhui's back, then looked at Tsunade, who was holding her, panting, and a sweetness burst into his heart. She can feel the extremely warm chakra emanating from Chinhui and Tsunade. Even if they use me as a tool in the future, I am willing to. Chinhui walked towards Sao Yin village step by step, and at the same time, Susanoo began to take shape all over him. This time Chinhui was ready to fight quickly. After a while, the second form of Susanoo took shape. Dealing with the grass shinobu, this form is enough. But Susanoo, who is more than 10 meters away, still has a huge fear in the hearts of Kushinin. Looking at Chinhui, who is close like a demon god, the Kushinus suddenly retreat in horror. But just in there. When Chinhui was only more than 10 meters away from Sao Ren, a Sao Ren forcefully suppressed the fear in his heart. Then he immediately shouted, kill this guy. Never let him enter our village. After his shouting, part of Kusano also slowly suppressed the fear in his heart. They started to Jia Yin, wanting to hinder Chinhui's pace. Fire style Great Fireball. Huiyingtu works hard. Wind style Breakthrough. One by one, ninjutsu hit Susanoo or the surrounding area, causing huge smoke and dust. Just now Tsunade has always been in the center of them, so they dare not get the seal if they are afraid of hurting their teammates. But now, the Kusaka ninjutsu no longer cares, and they cooperated with their teammates to bring out their best ninjutsu. But with their top-notch ninjutsu, how can they compete with Susanoo until the smoke clears? The grass ninjas discovered that these ninjutsus did not leave a trace on Susanoo. It's me. Chinhui smiled coldly. Susanoo raised the sharp blade in his hand, and then slammed it at the Kushinin. Boom. After the loud sound, more than 20 Kushinohori were killed by this blow instantly. Chinhui did not stop and waved the sharp blade again. After another loud noise, dozens of Kushino were taken away again. After unknowingly dying hundreds of companions, the Kushininas were finally afraid, and they began to scream and turn to flee. Chinhui did not chase after seeing this, but after taking away dozens of grass ninjas, he cleared a way to the hospital. Seeing this, Tsunade and the others at the back immediately walked towards this side with the fragrant phosphorus. Without Kushinin's obstacles, the group quickly entered the hospital. After finding the body of Xianglin's mother, Xianglin was crying again. But the deceased has passed away, and under the comfort of Tsunade's warm voice, fragrant phosphorus finally relieved from the grief for a while. After that, Chinhui took a group of people to the top of the mountain outside Kaoyan village. Fragrant phosphorus, let your mother go into the soil. Tsunade touched Xianglin's head. Xianglin wiped his tears, then nodded heavily. Seeing this, Chinhui controlled the land, buried Xianglin's mother in the ground, and simply built a tomb for it. Then, Chinhui flashed and appeared in the sky above Kaoyan village. This matter won't end so easily. At this time, the group, Kushininori thought that the matter was over, and began to clear the battlefield. Dirty village, let's be buried for Xianglin's mother. Chinhui stretched out his hand, and the extremely compressed large spiral wheel suddenly condensed in his hand. Then Chinhui relentlessly threw it down. After the huge roar, Kaoyan village has completely become the past, leaving only a 10 in place. A huge pit several meters deep. Under this blow, no one in Kaoyan village will survive. To this, Tsunade and others in the distance did not feel that it was too much. Even if Chinhui doesn't make a move, Tsunade himself will choose to turn on the 100 healings mark and completely destroy the Sao Yin village. After completely destroying Kaoyan village, Chinhui settled Tsunade and others to a small town. Then he left for the time being and headed to the Ghost Lantern City. He was very interested in the ultimate weapon of the Extremely One box. Originally, Chinhui was going to go sightseeing all the way. But now that he has destroyed Kaoyan village, it is estimated that it will not be long before the news will spread. Especially as the group of Kaoyan village Anbu, the group of controllers in the Ghost Lantern City, they will definitely get the news before dawn. So to prevent accidents, Chenhui decided to immediately hands on. While rushing to the Ghost Lantern City, Chenhui began to recall the plot of the original book. The beginning of the plot of the original book is already close to the Fourth World War 7 years later. And in the current time period, a group of people in the Ghost Lantern City have begun to secretly research on Theobox of Extreme 1 Foot. And the City Lord has sacrificed his son to Theobox of Extreme 1 Foot 3 years ago. So if you want to activate Theobox of Extreme 1 Foot at this time, you only need to enter the giant. The amount of chakra will do. In the performance of the theatrical version, the power of The Extreme 1 Box is related to various emotions of people. The monster within it, enlightenment, can perfectly avoid all attacks by sensing the emotions of the opponent. And as long as it is people have 7 emotions and 6 desires, so this monster can be said to be incomprehensible to 99% of people. But the original, enlightenment, is not very powerful, because it only has the emotion of fear. Sein, the protagonist after Naruto understood this and eliminated the fear in his heart, the enlightenment's opportunity to predict the enemy was useless, and was easily defeated. But Chenhui would like to see if he fully arouses the Extreme 1 Box, what kind of potential it will explode. With Chenhui's speed at this time, it only took a few minutes to explode with all strength, and he came to the water area that surrounded the Ghost Lantern City. Looking at the small island in the center of the waters far away, and the huge castle on the island. In order to avoid trouble, Chenhui directly used Shen Ellen and came to the island in an instant. And as soon as he appeared, he was spotted by the ubiquitous guards on the wall. The guards on the city wall raised their guns and aimed at Chenhui. It was late at night, and the people who came to the Ghost Lantern City at this time would definitely not do anything good. So the soldiers in the Ghost Lantern City suddenly became serious, and the leader quietly pressed down the alert bell. In the next moment, the alarm sounded through the Ghost Lantern City instantly. But Chenhui didn't care about the alarm bell at all. Instead, he looked at the city wall. Interestingly, the old-fashioned shape in the soldier's hand, similar to the weapon of the matchlock in the early 20th century. He saw the crooked science and technology tree of Naruto world again. Obviously there are missiles for large-scale weapons, and the result is still such an old antique. But this thing also suddenly opened Chenhui's brain. If he assembles all of them after the scientists in the ninja world led them a little bit. In a few years, will there be a world nuclear flat mushroom bomb? The scene at that time must be very interesting. Chenhui thought with a bit of nasty fun. After, it seems not to be wrong. After the nasty fun, Chenhui was very fascinated. Then he raised his foot and walked towards the city. Seeing this, the leader of the soldiers guarding the Ghost Lantern City on the city wall immediately shouted to Chenhui, "Stop, tell me who you are. Otherwise, we will shoot." After that, he waved his hand, and the guards immediately grasped the long spears in their hands, as if they would pull the trigger mercilessly in the next moment. Chenhui stopped walking when he heard the words, and then slowly raised his head. Seeing this, a group of soldiers couldn't help looking at Chenhui's face, wanting to see who dared to invade the Ghost Lantern City. But they were greeted by a strange red light flashing. The next moment, all the soldiers collapsed instantly on the ground. Chenhui saw that there was no fluctuation in his heart, just a few ordinary people. How could he withstand the illusion he released? And then he continued to slowly walk into the Ghost Lantern City. At this time, the alarm bell also caused the ninjas who really guarded the Ghost Lamp City to gather here. So when Chenhui entered the city, he was greeted by a camp of dozens of ninjas. Then he became the lord of the Ghost Lamp City. Wu Wei, at this time also slowly stepped forward. Wu Wei said with a cold face, "This is the Ghost Lantern City, where the ninja world detains all the ninjas who make mistakes. I don't care who you are, no matter what forces are behind you. Since you dare to trespass into the Ghost Lantern City, be prepared to be imprisoned here too. Afterwards, I will inform you behind." "Ha, a bunch of nonsense." Chenhui interrupted Wu Wei's words with an impatient look. Then he said coldly, "My trip is only for the box of Extreme 1 Foot. Hand over the box of Extreme 1, and I will let you go." Wu Wei's pupils suddenly shrank upon hearing this, and he muttered secretly, "Who is this person and why does he know about the G1 box?" In order to prevent other countries from coveting the Z1 box, Wu Wei and a few elders of the Grass Nin village are secretly researching. And now they have only studied for a few years, and only the 5 of them are aware of this. How could it suddenly happen? Leaked. But although Wu Wei's heart was shocked, his face was still indifferent. He said coldly, "You found the wrong place, I don't know what you are talking about. But since you dare to trespass into the Ghost Lantern City, I will keep you anyway." Wu Wei has already decided. After capturing Chenhui, he immediately found out where Chenhui knew about it. Then he killed all other people who knew about it. Kaoyan village must not be lost, let alone the box of Extreme One lost. Then, Wu Wei took a few steps back. Then he shouted to the other people beside him, "Give me up." Suddenly, dozens of ninjas rushed towards Chenhui aggressively. However, they were all reduced to prison guards. The strength of this group of people can be imagined. Among this group of ninjas, it is estimated that there are not many ninjas. After all, it is a prison jointly formed by the entire ninja world, and important figures and major countries will not be imprisoned here. Let alone this time of war. Therefore, Chenhui does not need to spend any thought to deal with this group of shrimp soldiers and crabs. I saw Chenhui single-handedly put Theian seal on his mouth, and then took a sharp breath. Fire style extinction. The fire style, covering a radius of 100 meters, immediately attacked a group of shrimp soldiers and crabs. This group of people have never seen such a battle to be frightened and stood in place. A few more alert, immediately sealed, I want to use water style to resist. But relying on their speed of formation, there is no time to resist. And even if they successfully release ninjutsu, can they stop the monstrous sea of fire? So in just a moment, the sea of fire will completely destroy this group of people submerged. They didn't even make a scream, and they were instantly taken away by the appalling high temperature inside. When the fire dissipated, these people were completely gone and turned into flying ashes in the sky. Unbearable. Chenhui curled his mouth in disdain, then raised his foot and walked towards the standing Wu Wei. Da, da. The crisp and rhythmic footsteps are so harsh in a deadly ghost lamp city. Every time the footsteps of the souls hit the ground, they are like a heavy hammer, beating heavily on Wu Wei's heart. The one just now. Fire style made him deeply aware of the strength gap between him and Chenhui. Under the threat of death, his face of indifferent inaction finally couldn't hold on. The face that was originally indifferent was full of horror at this moment. He stared wide. With both eyes, she looked at Chenhui getting closer and closer, but it seemed to be filled with lead, but it made him completely unable to move. Soon, Chenhui walked in front of Wu Wei. "Lead the way." Hearing Chenhui's plain and brief words, Wu Wei was taken aback for a moment, and then he was suddenly relieved. He was not dead. Chenhui didn't kill him right away. He was lucky to be killed, so he immediately did to Chenhui. A smiling face. But his smile was uglier than crying. Then Wu Wei didn't dare to hesitate, and didn't dare to talk nonsense, and immediately began to panic and led Chenhui the way. Chenhui in the back did not speak, nor did he dare to say the least. After walking for more than 10 minutes, Chenhui was taken to his bedroom by Wu Wei. Then Wu Wei immediately started to open a secret passage leading to the underground. "Big. Sir, it's here." Wu Wei swallowed and spit out. Chenhui said lightly, "Continue to lead the way." Wu Wei heard this and immediately stepped into the secret path first, and Chenhui quickly followed. Soon after, the two of them passed the secret road and arrived at the final destination. They saw a big hole was taken out, and a small bed was placed in the center of the hole. Looking to the left along the head of the bed, there is an extremely hideous face engraved on the wall inside. This is one of the 444 faces of Thiji-1's box. "My lord, this is Thiji-1's box. Introduce respectfully without doing anything." Chenhui glanced at him and asked, "Which step are you up to?" Wu Wei said, "They have been thoroughly researched, just continue to accumulate chakra. I have sacrificed dozens of prisoners over the years, and it is estimated that in a few years, I will be able to accumulate enough chakra." Chakra. Chenhui narrowed his eyes, small problem. As he said, Chenhui stretched out his hand, and the vast chakra immediately began to condense in his palm. When the chakra was condensed, Wu Wei could feel that it was dozens of times stronger than the chakra in his body. Then Chenhui's voice sounded again, "Start activating Theobox of Extreme 1 foot." Wu Wei heard the words but was taken aback, but soon there was endless joy in his heart. He suddenly screamed in surprise in his heart. It turns out that this person doesn't understand the box of Extreme 1. In the records of Kalyan village, the box of Extreme 1 has a characteristic, that is, only the wish of the person who opened it will be realized. Now Chenhui gives chakra to him, which means that after the operation is completed, he will become Extreme 1. The owner of the box. Wu Wei couldn't help but laugh wildly in his heart. No matter how strong you are not making a wedding dress for me. When I open the box of Extreme 1, I see how arrogant you were at this time, and you are not the guilty father of the future. He is like the group of enthusiasts in Anbu, Kalyan village. He has only one goal in his heart, that is to rule the ninja world with the Extremely 1 box. Then, Wu Wei cautiously, and began to operate with excitement. At this time, Chenhui cast a disdainful look at Wu Wei. With that little thought of Wu Wei, Chenhui knew everything in an instant. The G1 box can realize any wish, and it is estimated that this group of idiots from Shaonan village, without knowledge, believed it. After a moment, Wu Wei finally came to fruition. The operation is completed. Then the chakra in Chenhui's hand began to drift towards the box of extremes, and was constantly absorbed by the face. When the chakra was absorbed, the face on the box of Extreme 1 had turned into a terrifying black-purple. Then, the box of Pole 1 began to rotate slowly. This also caused the entire cave to start to tremble. Seeing this, Chenhui's figure flashed, and instantly came to the square of Ghost Lantern City. At this time, a white line, the beam of light has broken through the surface of the square and shot straight up into the sky. Hundreds of prisoners who wanted to escape from the chaos were all stunned when they saw this. At this time, the box of Pole 1 in the ground began to break open quickly. The earth and rocks rose up. Wu Wei saw this and immediately followed up. Soon, the box of G1 moved to the square of Ghost Lantern City. Not long afterwards, Wu Wei also appeared in front of Shaw instantly. Ha 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 ha. Wu Wei began to laugh wildly. If it succeeds, I will be able to realize the wishes of the ancestors of Kalyan village for generations. Chenhui on the eaves in the distance is like watching a clown, watching the funny behavior of Wu Wei. But at this time Wu Wei has entered the state of a fanatic. He opened his hands and shouted to the box of G1. It's time to open. And as he shouted, a wave of evil energy burst out from the box of Extreme 1 instantly. Wu Wei suddenly became even more enthusiastic when he saw this. Box of Extreme 1, give me the power to rule the world. As soon as these words came out, the box of G1 immediately began to react violently. I saw the face facing Wu Wei, slowly peeling off the box piece by piece, and then the beast head behind it was exposed. The beast's head slowly opened its mouth, forming an oval, gloomy door. Then, a ragged, bone-like figure slowly walked out of the door. No dirt. Wu Wei looked at this figure in shock. Isn't this the son who has already been sacrificed by him? Dad. A trace of confusion flashed in Wu Gu's eyes, and then slowly walked towards Wu Wei. Wu Wei frowned and looked at his son who was getting closer, and secretly said, what's going on? Could it be that the box of Extreme 1 can't improve my strength, so I sent my son back? Thinking of this possibility, a fear suddenly emerged in Wu Wei's heart. He was the first to make a wish to Kai 1 box before Chenhui. If Kai 1 box can't help him improve, then he is dead. However, just when his thoughts were extremely high, Wu Jiyu had already walked in front of him. Then, puff. Wu Wei looked at the son in front of him in disbelief. Wu Jiyu punched his chest with a punch. Then, accompanied by deep unwillingness, Wu Wei fell to the ground. The prisoner on the side was already very confused, but now it became even more confused. Chenhui on the eaves of the play This Is Singing Today, he curled his lips in disdain. Tisk, this is retribution. Wu Wei sacrificed his son Wugu to G1 Ji Xie for illusory legend. Let Wugu have been in the box for these years, the box has been attacked by endless fear. So Wu Wei's current fate can be said to be retribution. But what he doesn't know until death is that Wugu at this time is already in bliss, became a monster in the box. Go. You can start to act. This time Wu Wei is not as lucky as the original. Wu Gu's punch, while piercing his chest, directly smashed his heart. The moment Wu Wei fell to the ground, Wu Wei completely lost his vitality. And Wu Wei died, his original restraint technique on the prisoner, suddenly they also disappeared. Although the prisoners still don't know what happened, since the restraint technique is released, it means that they can leave this ghost place. Suddenly, the prisoners no longer pay attention to Wusho, but are excited towards run outside the Ghost Lantern City. Leaving here, they will be free. But will it really be like this? Wu Jiyu licked the blood in his hand, and at the same time looked at the group of prisoners with a grin. Then, countless black hairs began to emerge from him. In a moment, it turned into a monster that was tens of meters tall, with wings on its back, was covered in pitch black, and had huge fangs. This ice enlightenment, Wu immediately launched an attack on the group of prisoners. It flew to the center of the prisoners at an extremely fast speed, and then hit the ground with a paw. Suddenly, dozens of prisoners were shocked by this blow. Luo grabbed a few people and threw it to the box of G-1. At this time, the box of Ji-1 also changed again, and the faces of the other three sides also fell one after another, forming another 3 gates. And those, the prisoners who were thrown into the box of the pole 1 were instantly sucked in by the suction erupting from the door. And this was just the beginning. The group of the prisoners were quickly smashed one by one. Satoru caught it, and then threw it into the box of Extreme 1. Among them, there were also prisoners who wanted to resist. After all, without restraint, they could already mobilize chakra. But Satoru seemed to have the ability of an unknown prophet, and this group of people's counterattack was not at all effect. Chenhui in the distance watched this scene quietly, without intending to stop it. This group of prisoners was originally the vicious and evil people in the ninja world, and it was not worth his rescue. And even if he didn't realize it, Chenhui would get rid of this group of people. After all, the reason is that Chenhui's arrival led to their escape. Therefore, Chenhui watched Wu quietly, and threw all the prisoners into the box of Extreme 1. As more and more people were swallowed by the box of Extreme 1, the peculiar energy it radiated became more and more thick. This also allowed Wu's strength to be slightly improved, and he was at the level of the shadow level. A small step. And its size has expanded a bit. But as far as Chenhui is concerned, it is still vulnerable. Chenhui saw this and murmured, "The power derived from emotions is, rather, interesting. It seems that there will be a different harvest this time." After a series of screams that lasted for more than 10 minutes, Chenhui and Wu were left in the Ghost Lantern City. By the way, there are also that group of city wall guards who know nothing about Chenhui hypnosis. Enlightenment perceives directions through various emotions, so this group of people who have been involved in illusionism is fortunate not to be discovered. After solving the group of prisoners, Wu naturally stared at Chenhui. Seeing Chenhui alone, Wu Li waved his wings and patted Chenhui with a paw. Although the power has become stronger, but still a savage. Chenhui curled his mouth in disdain and turned a blind eye to her near body. However, just when Wu's paw was about to hit Chenhui, the golden Susanoo instantly gathered around Chenhui's body. At the same time, Susanoo waved his fist and knocked Wu away with one punch. "Go out." After Wu Da flew tens of meters, he slammed into a house. The house was suddenly shattered by Wu's huge size and impact. After it collapsed, Wu was buried in the ruins. How could it be possible? A sound of suspicion sounded from the ruins, and Wu crawled out of it with a look of disbelief. Chenhui said lightly, "Your ability, even if you perceive your opponent's heart through emotions. And you seem to only perceive the emotion of fear. Nice ability, it's a pity that you met me. Just relying on your kind of stuff, you are not qualified to make me feel scared." Wu Wenyan was immediately furious. Then it roared, and the wings behind its back suddenly opened. Then, hundreds of pitch-black feathers poured out towards Chenhui. The feathers passed through some buildings, and instantly turned them off. Crush. You can see the terrifying power contained in it. But this kind of thing, hitting Susanoo is like tickling it, and it won't do anything at all. Seeing this, I realized that I did not believe in evil and opened his mouth, spitting out energy balls, hit Susanoo again. But it still didn't work at all. Chenhui looked at it lightly, "If you have poor skills, then it's me." With that said, Susanoo suddenly began to change. In a moment, he became a 100-meter-high complete body. Facing Susanoo, who was several times taller than himself, as the incarnation of fear, he felt fear from the bottom of my heart. Susanoo, who is completely complete, slowly drew out the sharp blade. With just a sword swing, Wu and all the buildings behind it were divided into two. At the same time, a sword marked tens of meters deep was left on the ground. Wu was hit hard by this, and suddenly fell to the ground with a scream. However, the box of Extreme One suddenly took action. I saw a burst of energy suddenly drifting towards enlightenment, and the enlightenment that was divided into two quickly recovered. However, after recovery, its size has shrunk in a circle. Tisk, the embodiment of emotions, it will still be very tenacious. Chenhui curled his mouth, and then another sword swung out. Wu was divided into two again. Then Wu continued to recover, Chenhui continued to swing the sword. After dozens of times, Wu was cut in half again. But this time, the Jixi did not continue to restore Wugu. Soon, Wugu quickly disappeared, and after a while, it returned to Wugu's appearance. But at this time Wugu is dying, and it seems that he can't survive. Chenhui seeing this without hesitation, he stepped forward and completely ended his life. Next, is, the highlight. Chenhui looked at the pole 1 box in the distance, and Susanoo also began to quickly dissipate. The consumption of this period of time has made the box of Extreme One become ordinary. Chenhui secretly shouted, "System, is there any way for me to gain the power of emotion in the box of Extreme One?" Enter the box of Extreme One. The system will help the host to swallow its origin. Would you like to go in? Chenhui groaned slightly, and strode towards the box of G1. After reaching the door of the box of G1, Chenhui stepped in without hesitation. He has sufficient trust in the system. The box of 1 is enough, the system should be easy to handle. And after Chenhui stepped into the box of pole 1, the 4 doors were also closed instantly. Suddenly, the ghost lantern city fell into tranquility again. As for the group of city wall guards, Chenhui's illusion at least can make them sleep for 12 hours. So they are the most comfortable group of people today. Time passed quickly, and soon the second day's sunlight was shining on the square of the Ghost Lantern City. At this time, the quiet night of G1 box also moved again. With a loud noise, the box of G1 suddenly burst open, stirring up the dust in the sky. When the dust dissipated, Chenhui's figure gradually appeared. Chenhui stretched slowly. "A good harvest tonight. Where did you go? I can't find you since last night." As soon as Chenhui opened the door, there was a strong smell of alcohol on his face. At the same time, there was also Tsunade's carefree voice. "Master Chenhui." Shizune, who took care of the drunken Tsunade, quickly got up and saluted. Tsunade now treats Chenhui as if she has changed her personally. Especially after Chenhui avenged the mother and daughter of Xionglan, all the small bumps in her heart have disappeared. So Tsunade face Chenhui has also become more and more natural. But Shizune can't dare. Chenhui's scene of Kamui has always been, her mind can't get rid of it. She is now in awe of Chenhui, and the fear is far greater than the respect, and there is no way to change this mentality in a short time. Chenhui nodded to Shizune, and then looked at the drunken Tsunade and the dozen or so small bottles on the ground. He immediately teased, "Oh, after drinking so much wine, it seems that reuniting with relatives and friends makes you very happy." Shizune heard the words and immediately explained in a low voice, "Master Tsunade went to find you in the middle of the night last night, but couldn't find it. Then she drank it by herself until now." Seeing that Shizune's face was quite tired, Chenhui said, "You have been tired all night, so go and rest." Tsunade, just leave it to me. What? A hint of hesitation flashed across Shizune's face, but she nodded soon. "Then I will go to rest." After speaking, she turned and walked out of the room, and carefully closed the door. Shizune left. Chenhui also walked to the opposite of Tsunade and sat down. Looking at the sad expression on Tsunade's face, Chenhui immediately teased again, "Why, are you happy or sad?" "Both." Tsunade picked up the glass and took another sip. Then, without waiting for Chenhui to ask, she said to herself, "Do you think I am very useless? I didn't protect the tribe, nor did I protect my brother. Even if I knew the truth about everything, I didn't avenge them. The Uzumaki family who is closest to me, I haven't searched for orphans living in various places for so many years. If I didn't happen to encounter fragrant phosphorus last night, I'm afraid she would." As he spoke, Tsunade burst into tears. Chinhui sighed when he saw this, and said, if all the people close to you are gone, you will naturally fall into confusion and decadence. I think those of you, the people who passed away, know that they won't blame you for it. They were all killed by people they trusted, and it was Konoha's decay and darkness that caused all this. It has nothing to do with you, it is Sarutobi Hiruzen and others like strategists who are wrong. Not to mention that you are now sober and want to avenge the people of the tribe. You saved the little fragrant phosphorus last night. So why do you attribute all your faults to yourself? With that said, Chinhui reached out and took away the bottle and glass in front of Tsunade. Tsunade's expression was slightly slow when he heard the words, but still murmured, but I still feel that I am very useless. If I could start the action earlier, Xionglin's mother would not die tragically in Kaoyan village. Hearing that, Chinhui nodded seriously. Said, you are really useless. As soon as this statement came out, Tsunade looked at him in surprise. She wanted to find more comfort in Chinhui, but Chinhui suddenly changed this time, and followed her words and started to belittle her. Is this the way to comfort people? Chinhui naturally noticed Tsunade's dissatisfaction. He said faintly, since you know that you are useless, don't act quickly. The Uzumaki people living outside are not the only ones living with phosphorus. If you continue to complain about yourself like this, tragedies like Mother Xiongling will happen more. As soon as this word came out, Tsunade on the alcohol was awakened in an instant. Yeah, the surviving Uzumaki tribe can't be the only family of Xiongling. She should hurry up to search for these orphans, avoid incense. The tragedy of Mother Fa will happen again. Do you want to drink more? I can drink with you for another day. With that said, Chinhui took a sip of the wine glass. No, don't drink any more. Tsunade's face was slightly red, and he was suddenly embarrassed. Chinhui nodded, and said flatly, then go and comfort the fragrant phosphorus. She is awake now and is staying in the room in a daze. Her mother has just passed away and needs help from a loved one. Then, you should also start searching for Uzumaki orphans. If necessary, Anbu of Wonen village will cooperate with you with all your strength. Thank you. Tsunade stood up and bowed sincerely to Chinhui. And last night, thank you for helping me destroy Kaoyan village. Chinhui waved his hand and said, you are now my subordinate, work for me. Then as you, I should naturally solve some minor troubles in life for you. Although I don't know what it means, Tsunade still understands Chinhui's words. She nodded firmly to Chinhui, then turned around and wanted to find fragrant phosphorus. And many more. At this moment, Chinhui stopped her again. You are going to see Xiongling just like this. Don't be afraid to comfort her, the more sad she will be. Tsunade immediately looked at herself when she heard the words, but found that she was naturally full of alcohol. She suddenly looked embarrassed. Zhang then quickly mobilized chakra to dissipate the alcohol on her body. Not only alcohol, but also. Chinhui also got up and walked towards Tsunade. And also, Tsunade was puzzled. Chinhui walked to Tsunade and pointed her index finger at her forehead. Yes, and your low mentality. With that, strands of mysterious threads began to be drawn from Tsunade's forehead, and finally condensed on the tip of Chinhui's index finger. And as these threads were pulled out, Tsunade suddenly felt the depression, anger, regret, and a series of negative emotions in his heart, all of them disappeared in an instant. Then Chinhui retracted his index finger. This is. Tsunade looked at Chinhui in shock. What kind of tactic is this? Chinhui smiled slightly and said, the little abilities I gained last night can let me control all kinds of emotions at will. Extracting your negative emotions is just a basic operation. Any emotion can be controlled. Tsunade's eyes widened. Of course. Chinhui smiled slightly, a strange light flashed in his eyes. Then I looked at Chinhui's Tsunade, and felt my heart beating faster and faster, and my face turned red unnaturally. At the same time, an inexplicable emotion began to develop in Tsunade's heart, but it was in Tsunade completely. At the moment she fell into the confusion, she suddenly woke up again. Tsunade, who was sober, saw Chinhui looking at her with a smile. Seeing Tsunade awakening, Chinhui teased and emphasized again, any emotions. Suddenly, Tsunade's heart suddenly stagnated. Then she quickly turned around and cursed in a low voice, don't make such a joke. After that, she quickly walked out. Chinhui behind shrugged and said, although this ability is very powerful, it can't create emotions out of thin air. I can also expand the existing emotions now, or pull it away. Chinhui's voice was very small, but Tsunade still listened to it without losing a word. Suddenly, her pace picked up a bit more. Seeing this, Chinhui couldn't help but shook her head a bit amused. He and Tsunade barely got along for a month, and he didn't expect Tsunade to have such emotions towards him. Although very weak, you know that Chinhui usually treats Tsunade, but he has never had any tenderness. Either he is beating her, or on the way to beating her. The first meeting is a strong threat to Tsunade. Thinking of this, Chinhui couldn't help but mutter, is it? Host. Uchiha Chinhui age. 15 blood succession limits. Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, intermediate sage body. Ninjutsu. Sage mode, Rasengan series, fire style series, Uchiha swordsmanship. Chakra. The pinnacle of its own super shadow, the early stage of the Shanshu chakra super shadow, the 6th level of Ashura chakra, the sealed state, the 10 tails chakra remnant, the lack of one, the tail strength evaluation, the super shadow peak. Chinhui sits in front of the bed, sips a wine glass in his hand, but his thoughts have been put on the system. Unknowingly, it has been a year and a half since the memory of his previous life was awakened. In this year and a half, his strength and influence have changed drastically. Especially his own strength. Just collect it again. With the last 3-tailed beasts, he will be able to reach the highest level in the world. By then, he will be truly unscrupulous. Remind host, when 10 tails chakra is collected, he will immediately contact host's own chakra fusion. Because the strength of the 6th level is too strong, and the host's own chakra is weak, it takes a year to reconcile. Host will enter a deep sleep state during the reconciliation, and will not wake up until the fusion is completed. So when you ask host to fuse the origin of the last tailed beast, choose a suitable place. There is still this limitation. Chinhui frowned suddenly, but soon he started to relax again. It was only a year. And Chinhui was not ready to make any big moves in the next year. But soon, Chinhui thought of another question. He quickly asked, then when I merge chakra, the power of the 6 yin and yang, will it take so long? Host will enter the 6th level after fusing 10 tails chakra. The complete chakra and the power of the 6 yin and yang are also the power of the 6th level, so it only takes less than a day to merge. This it is good. Chinhui suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. If it is as troublesome as 10 tails chakra, then his plan will have to be postponed for a few more years. But in this way, the travel plan will have to be temporarily stranded. Chinhui raised his eyebrows, and it seemed that his leisure time was about to end here. Soon, Chinhui gathered Tsunade and others together. Chinhui glanced around and slowly said, there have been some changes, and the trip will end here. I'll take you back to the country of water first. Do you need my help for anything? Tsunade stepped forward and asked. Chinhui shook his head and said, no, this is about my own practice. Tsunade nodded. It really didn't require her to help. Seeing that everyone had no objections, Chinhui continued, then, you should go to my portable space first. Soon we will be back to the country of water. With that said, Chinhui waved his hand and took everyone into the portable space. After this period of development, Chen space has the size of a town. Not long ago, Chinhui stopped the supply of chakra. After all, this is a space and does not need to be too large in a short period of time. Then Chinhui began to build the second space and the first battle space, the ice space. Now the ice space has also developed nearly 1,000 square meters in size. Chinhui turned on the sage mode, and his perception instantly covered a radius of tens of miles. Then he launched the God Presence, and began to move quickly towards the water country. Kurinin village, in the Mizukage office. Terumi Mei is frantically dealing with affairs, and Uchiha Izumi is also helping her. Now that Kurigakure and water country are thriving, the government affairs that need to be handled are also more and more. Had it not been for Uchiha Spring to help, Terumi Mei would definitely not be able to handle it alone. After all, this is the government affairs of Kurigakure and the entire water country. Terumi Mei did not think about finding a few more people, but Chinhui is not there, she dare not be good at it. Make a claim. After solving another large file, Terumi Mei couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Then she tilted her head, pouting her mouth, and said to Uchiha Kwan, who was on the side, "When your brother comes back, you must persuade him. He is Kurigakure's Mizukage, all right." The shopkeeper did it so coolly, it didn't hurt us in the end. Really? Terumi May kept complaining, but soon interrupted her with a voice. "How is it?" Hearing this voice, Terumi May's face suddenly changed. But Uchiha Spring stood up in surprise and shouted, "Brother Chinhui." Afterwards, Chinhui's figure appeared on Mizukage's seat instantly. Chinhui folded his arms on the table and looked at Terumi May interestedly. "I heard you complaining as soon as I came back, and talked about what else you are dissatisfied with." Here, Terumi May scratched her head awkwardly. Then Terumi May saw Chinhui looking at her with a smile all the time, and suddenly became a little flustered. Then he quickly turned his eyes asking for help to Uchiha Spring. Seeing this, Kwan couldn't help but smile, but still trot to Chinhui and grabbed his arm. "Brother Chinhui, Sister Terumi May just made a joke with me. Don't blame her." Chinhui took a deep look at Terumi May and said, "When did you guys have such a good relationship?" Terumi May suddenly looked awkwardly around, not looking at Chinhui. Chinhui shook his head slightly when he saw this, and said, "Okay, let's talk about the development of this period of time." Yes. Seeing that Chinhui was no longer pursuing it, Terumi May immediately looked down and began to report. "You did a great job." After listening to Terumi May's report, Chinhui nodded in praise. As Chinhui's basic board, the better the country of water develops, the better it will be for him. Terumi May is also very happy to receive Chinhui's praise. She quickly added, "But there is one thing you need to handle yourself." "What's up?" Chinhui asked. Terumi May immediately stepped forward and found out on the desk a document. Then she said, "This is the top people from all walks of life that Anbu has searched in the ninja world during this period of time. Now they have all come to Kurigakure. I am waiting for your instructions." Chinhui took the document and flipped through a few pages. "Very well, from now on, let them compile their knowledge into a book. When the Science and Technology Campus starts, they will be the first teachers." "Yes." Terumi May nodded seriously. Seeing that everything has been processed, Chinhui waved Sunade and others out of the portable space. "They are." Terumi May frowned and looked at Sunade, who suddenly appeared. Chinhui said, "You should have heard of her. She is Sunade, the #1 medical ninja in the ninja world. From today, she will be the head of the Science and Technology Campus. And if she has any needs, the village will give her full support." Terumi May opened her mouth, but finally nodded in response, "Yes." Seeing this, Chinhui sighed slightly in his heart. Unfortunately, Ant Snake was not found. He is the best person in charge of the Science and Technology Campus. Think about Orochimaru's achievements in the original book: intelligent robots, artificial humans, reincarnation methods. The black technology is even better than the world of Chinhui's previous life. Of course, Chinhui wants to get talents. But the improvement of strength is the most important thing. All Chinhui can only put aside the search for Orochimaru first. However, at this moment, Chinhui suddenly felt that two unfamiliar auras had entered the country of water. Chinhui immediately used the space secret technique to check the identity of the visitor. Then the next second, Chinhui's eyes widened. I brought it to the door by myself. What happened to Mizukage-sama?" Seeing Chinhui suddenly distracted, Terumi May couldn't help calling out. Chinhui suddenly recovered, but his face still showed unstoppable joy. He smiled and said, "I got a good news. The second person in charge of our Science and Technology Campus has delivered it to the door himself." "The second person in charge?" Terumi May raised her eyebrows. Looking at Chinhui's joyful expression, is this second person also an amazing character? Terumi May is still there. Guess, Sunade understands Chinhui's meaning instantly. Chinhui said more than once before, Orochimaru is his most optimistic in the ninja world. One of the characters is more important than Sunade. And they also searched for Orochimaru's laboratory, but unfortunately they didn't find it in the end, but because of this, they gained a lot of weight. So now the expression on Chinhui's face reminds Sunade of Orochimaru instantly. Could it be that Orochimaru came to the country of water? Sunade asked. Chinhui nodded and said, "We have been looking for him for so long, but he didn't expect him to come here by himself." Then he looked at Terumime and said, "You arrange Tsunade's accommodation, I will meet Orochimaru." After speaking, Chenhui stood up. But when he was about to leave, he noticed the mountain of documents on the table. He glanced around, only to find that Terumime and Uchiha-kwan had a layer of sweat on their heads. Seeing this, Chenhui couldn't help but sigh secretly. Tone. Then he said to Terumime, "If you can't handle it, then find some trustworthy people. You don't need to tell me about this kind of thing, you can make your own decisions." After that, Chenhui disappeared in the office instantly. Terumime couldn't help but smile warmly. It seems that Chenhui still cares about her. Subsequently, Terumime immediately began arranging the residences of Tsunade and others. At the same time, I also began to think about people in Kurigakure who were worthy of her and Chenhui's trust. It's really unlucky, I didn't expect to be discovered as soon as I entered the country of water. In a hidden place on the border of the water country, the two walking figures suddenly stopped. "Master Orochimaru, what happened?" After hearing Orochimaru's words, Dudu immediately began to vigilantly look around. "Look carefully at the mist around you." Orochimaru was not as vigilant as Tu, but showed an expression of interest. "Fog." Tu frowned slightly, and then began to observe the fog that can be seen everywhere. But in the next instant, his eyes widened. These mists are actually full of chakra." Orochimaru nodded, and said, "Yes, it seems to be the same technique as Pen's Rain Tiger Freedom Technique." "Then what shall we do to retreat?" asked. Orochimaru shook his head and said, "It's too late." Dudu wanted to say something, but a voice of praise suddenly came. "Yes, very keen observation." When I said this, my heart suddenly became serious, but Orochimaru's face was thick. He stretched out his tongue like a snake, licked his lips, and said secretly, "It's really getting more and more interesting." Then the two looked in the direction of the sound. I saw a figure a few meters away on their right side, quietly appearing there. This is the Chenhui who came in an instant. Chenhui looked at Orochimaru in his pocket, and Orochimaru also looked at Chenhui. Suddenly, Chenhui smiled and said, "Orochimaru, I have been looking for you for a long time. I didn't expect you to bring it to the door by yourself." "Oh." Orochimaru licked his lips, "I don't know if you are Uchiha Chenhui," Chenhui said with a smile. "Oh, it's you." Hearing that, Orochimaru's eyes when looking at Chenhui suddenly heated up. "It seems that the two guys Itachi and Loquat Juzo are dead in your hands." "Yes." Chenhui nodded. "Look at you in the same dress as them. Could it be that you are here to avenge them this time?" "No, no, no." Orochimaru suddenly shook his head again and again. "I came here specifically for you this time." Chenhui smiled even more when he heard the words, "This is a coincidence, I happen to be looking for you too." Orochimaru did not answer. He licked his lips and smiled gloomily. "I really like Itachi's body, I didn't expect him to die like this. I thought I could kill Itachi and Loquat Juzo. Even if the people who do it are not as potential as the Itachi with Mangekyo, they will have very interesting abilities." Unexpectedly, it was the owner of another Mangekyo who killed him. "Your talent is still above Itachi. It seems that my trip to the water country this time is very complete." "Oh, so you fell in love with my body." Chenhui narrowed his eyes. "It seems that you have confidence in your own strength, are you not afraid of overturning in the gutter?" Orochimaru laughed and said, "Hehe, I still have this confidence. Although Sarutobi Hiruzen told you very well, I understand his character. In order to save face, he will definitely exaggerate your strength slightly. This will not only explain to the villagers, but it will also make you complacent, so that you can underestimate the enemy the next time you meet." After Orochimaru finished speaking, Chenhui immediately clapped. "The reasoning is wonderful, in that case." Chenhui shrugged and said, "It just so happens that I also fell in love with you. How about we make an appointment?" "What agreement?" Orochimaru asked with interest. Chenhui said, "You have confidence in your own strength, and it happens that I also have confidence in myself. Then we might as well fight. The agreement is that the defeated will follow the victor's orders from now on." "How is it?" "This is very interesting." Orochimaru licked his lips excitedly. "Since Mr. Chenhui is interested, I won't be disappointed." Having said that, Orochimaru took the lead and immediately stretched out his right hand to Chenhui. He didn't think he would be weaker than Shinhui. In his eyes, Itachi was unparalleled in potential, but still very immature, and Loquat Shazang did not let him go. In the ninja world, the current leader Pain has made him feel the feeling of invincibility. So Orochimaru has strong confidence in this battle to win Shinhui. Your body, I will accept it. The hidden shadow has more snake hands. I saw Orochimaru's hand suddenly turned into dozens of snakes, and he opened his bloody mouth and rushed towards Shinhui. Shinhui narrowed his eyes when he saw this, and then put his hand on the hilt of the sword. Until the big snake got close, Shinhui pulled out the sharp blade in an instant, and cut off all the snake heads with just one sword. As soon as he entered the battle, Shinhui looked like a different person, staring at Orochimaru with cold eyes. Tentative attacks are unnecessary. I'm in a hurry. Mr. Shinhui speaks, I naturally obey. Orochimaru licked his lips again. Then he was like an arrow from the string, rushing towards Shinhui quickly, but he did not hold any weapons in his hand. Shinhui did not care about this. Orochimaru's unique melee combat is still worthy of vigilance. For a moment, Orochimaru rushed to Shinhui. Shulking snake hand. When he stretched out his hand, several large snakes immediately entangled Shinhui from different directions. Shinhui also quickly swung his sword and instantly cut off these. But Orochimaru smiled slightly when he saw this, and said secretly, I got the bait. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.